Chapter 1533. Just as Yu Minmin was about to speak, she heard a loud explosion outside. Yu Minmin frowned. In an instant, he felt that thing fall to the ground, and an explosion was heard. The house rumbled and shook. In an instant, dust mixed with heat waves came over. There was a bomb. Yu Minmin hurriedly said, "Run." Papa Yu was still talking. "What's going on?" Yu Minmin turned around and pulled him out of the house. However, Papa Yu suddenly thought of something. "No, we haven't taken the money yet, Dad." Yu Minmin screamed, but she could not stop them. She could not move because her stomach was too big, so she could only walk forward. On the other side, the bodyguard had already followed her and escorted her out of the house. She shouted to the bodyguard, "Go back and look for my parents." "Yes, madam. Go to a safe place and leave the rest to us." Yu Minmin turned around and looked at her stomach. She had no choice but to leave. The front foot. The few of them stepped out of the house. Behind them, there was a loud explosion. Behind them, the house had completely collapsed. Yu Minmin was pushed to the ground. In the midst of the dust, there were continuous gunshots, explosions, and police sirens. Yu Minmin looked up in a daze. Behind her, it was a pile of rubble. In the hospital, Yu Minmin slowly woke up. Gu Jingming was already in front of her. She sat up immediately. "What's going on, my parents?" Gu Jingming looked at her and held her hand. His eyes were fixed on her, but he could not say a word. Yu Minmin's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. "My parents, they died, didn't they?" She choked on the words. She knew it. She knew it the moment she saw the house collapse. Gu Jingming lowered his head and waved his hand, gesturing for everyone in the room to leave. He then held her hand and said in a low voice, when the rescue team arrived, they lifted the rubble. "Your father had already lost all signs of life. From the looks of it, he must have gone to look for the safe at home. Your mother pulled him from behind, and both of them were buried under the rubble." "Mother!" Yu Minmin bit her lip and sobbed. Gu Jingming hugged her. He knew that it was useless to comfort her, so he kept saying, "I'm here. I'm here. You still have the baby. You still have the baby. Our whole family is here." Yu Minmin had thought about it a long time ago. Because of his father, his family hadn't had a single day of peace. Now, things were getting better. She had also thought that if one day her mother died, it would definitely be her father's doing. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that such a day would really come? At this time, "Sister, let me see my sister. I won't do anything. I just want to see her." Yu Qingqing's voice came from outside. Yu Minmin quickly let go of Gu Jingming. "Let him in, I'm fine." Gu Jingming took a deep look at her and nodded. "Let him in." Yu Changchang pushed open the door and looked at Yu Minmin. Seeing that she had already burst into tears, his heart ached. But in any case, he had already grown up and understood reason. He walked over and said, "Sis, it's okay. I'm still here. I'm fine. Mom and Dad are gone, but you still have me." The dead were important, but no matter how important they couldn't be compared to the living, right? Yu Minmin nodded. The two siblings sat together. Gu Jingming said, "Luckily, Changcheng wasn't here at that time." Yu Changcheng sighed. "I wish that I was here. Maybe I could help." Gu Jingming said, "There were so many guards there, but it was too late. The house collapsed too quickly." Yu Changcheng said angrily, "Who did it?" Gu Jingming said, "I'll find out. This person was after Minmin." Yu Changcheng said, "But there are reporters outside now. It's a mess. Brother-in-law, if you're busy, you can go. I'll stay with my sister." Gu Jingming was indeed busy, but he couldn't leave Yu Minmin alone at this time. He shook his head and continued to hold Yu Minmin's hand. "Linda will deal with it first. I'll stay here with Minmin. It won't be too late to go out when you need me." Yu Chengqing finally looked at Gu Jingming. At this time, he was still by his wife's side. It meant that he really cared about them. His sister had found a good brother-in-law. It was indeed a mess outside. In the afternoon, Yu Minmin turned on the television and saw that he was being broadcasted. The president's wife's house was suddenly bombed, and the bomb killed her parents. All of a sudden, a large number of people appeared outside, discussing and panicking. The president's wife's house was bombed. Wouldn't something big happen? It seemed that Country C was not safe now. Some were sympathetic, some were sad, and some were angry. Of course, there were also discordant voices. Some people dug up the past of Yu Minmin's family. They talked about how Papa Yu was in the casino, how he was in debt, how he was a casino wastrel, and how he was chased. Some people said that they didn't expect the president's wife's family to be like this. It seemed that she deserved to die. Some people said that it had nothing to do with the president. It was because their family was too ostentatious that they died tragically. Why did the president marry such a woman? Maybe he was implicated by such a woman. In an instant, doubts about the president's wife rose to the extreme. When they returned, Gu Jingming first asked Linda, "How is it? You need to go there personally. The parliament is in a mess and everyone is anxious. You might need to preside over it." Gu Jingming nodded silently. "At this moment, I'll go too." Yu Minmin's eyes were still red as she walked out from behind. Gu Jingming immediately said, "Go and rest." "No, it started because of me. I cannot show up." "How could it be because of you? Your family was implicated by me." "No, we are husband and wife. Your matter is my matter. We are a family. Now that the matter happened in my family, it concerns the whole of Country C. I won't hide behind." She enjoyed the honor of being the president's wife, so she had to do what the president's wife should do. In the past, she might not have felt this way, but after all these years, she had understood that every move of the president's office concerned the affairs of hundreds of millions of people. "Don't worry, I know my body, but it's only when I appear like this that everyone will be gentler to us." Seeing that she was pregnant, they couldn't force her like that. "Okay." Gu Jingming held her hand and walked out with her. It was Yu Minmin's first time coming to a place like the parliament. The ministers of various departments, army commanders, and everyone else were gathered here. The affairs of the country were decided here. Yu Minmin took a deep breath. When she saw the group of people looking at her, she nodded slightly and walked to the front under everyone's gaze. "Hello, everyone. I know that I shouldn't be here as a woman." Chapter 1534. She held her stomach with one hand. Her eyes were still red, but there were no more tears. This scene was also recorded by the reporters at the scene. Everyone looked at her. She said firmly, "This time, it was my family who had an accident. No matter how bad they were still my parents who raised me. My father had always been regarded as a burden to my family. My mother had been with him all her life and had never had a good day. Later, I fell in love with Jingming and got married. Under the care of many people, my father turned over a new leaf and my mother settled down for a few years. He wasn't the only father in the country. In the whole world, we weren't the only ordinary and difficult family. They were all lawful and law-abiding citizens of Country C. Now, they were attacked and killed by unknown people. They even wanted to kill me and the innocent child in my stomach that had never seen the sun. Now, you're blaming me instead of the murderer. What can I say? I can only say that I hope that this murderer can be arrested and brought to justice as soon as possible. I hope that we can investigate everything as soon as possible so that the people can live a safe life, and I can also comfort my parents who have just lost their lives. I hope that everyone will not be misled by these people's words and put the cart before the horse. Thank you, everyone." Outside, everyone was watching this scene. She had done the right thing. Because of her identity as a pregnant woman and her strong appearance, all the women were in awe of her. In the past, the First Lady, who only had a sense of existence when she showed off her love to Gu Jingming, now had her own image for the first time. Everyone felt that a woman like her was worth learning from. At this time, she was still able to stand up and say such words while enduring the pain. She looked so strong and pitiful. It was no wonder that she was a woman that their president liked. Gu Jingming also stood on the platform immediately. He held Yu Minmin's hand and said to the crowd, "On my wedding with Madam, I promised her in front of everyone that I would be her husband from now on and that we would help each other for the rest of our lives. Now, I will also stand side by side with her. On one hand, her family is also the people of Country C. They are legal citizens of our country. It is the duty of me and all public officials to protect the rights of every citizen. On the other hand, she is my wife, and it is my duty as a husband to protect my wife. So I, Gu Jingming, will definitely investigate this matter to the end." At that moment, everyone was overwhelmed with emotions. Yu Changchang couldn't help but tear up as he watched from below. When he saw Yu Minmin coming down, he quickly helped her up. Sister. Yu Minmin held his hand and shook her head. Don't worry, I'm fine. Yu Changchang nodded vigorously. I know. I'm very proud of you. Sis, you've done very well. You're truly our first lady. But Yu Minmin could still feel that her legs were still weak. It wasn't easy to say of it in front of so many people, but she had to do it. Outside, Glass Palace's live stream was seen by almost everyone. All of a sudden, everyone was very indignant. They felt that they were making things difficult for a pregnant woman and a person who had just lost her parents. They were really outrageous. All of a sudden, the personal guards of the president, of the people of the side of the people. All of a sudden, the presidential palace's personal guards, special forces, and various police began to investigate one after another. The scene was in ruins, and everyone was watching. Lin Che and Gu Jingze were watching everything at home. Lin Che said, "The president's palace is in a mess now. I just went over and saw a lot of people cheering at the entrance." Yu Minmin's speech worked, so everyone encouraged her. Gu Jingze said, "Yeah, even I feel depressed. How could they do that? They're killing people right at their doorstep. I'll investigate it thoroughly. You just need to accompany sister-in-law," he said. Lin Che could only nod. When they went out together, Gu Jingze called the others. "Follow madam," he said to Lin Che. "Since it's very chaotic over there, bring more people with you, or else I'll be worried." Lin Che sighed as he looked at him. "It's not like they're targeting me." "How do you know?" Gu Jingze didn't say anything about the Yin family. He asked her to leave first and then went on to deal with other things. Lin Che and Yu Minmin were resting in Glass Palace. Outside, Gu Jingming issued a formal statement again, asking for a thorough investigation of this matter and condemning all such violence. Although Gu Jingming had made all sorts of statements in Glass Palace many times, Yu Minmin had never thought that it would be because of her family. She felt even sadder. She covered her mouth and choked with sobs. Lin Che hugged her. "We'll find out." At the same time, Gu Jingze's men rushed into the Yin family. However, there was no one inside. They searched the whole room and found that the Yin family had almost moved away. It seemed that they hadn't been here for long. The news was quickly reported to Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze pondered for a moment. I didn't expect the Yin family to be so courageous. Indeed, if they didn't leave now, they would have been exterminated, but he stood up slowly. Just because they left doesn't mean that they can't be found. He turned around and said coldly, "Go and find out where they went." It's impossible to leave such a big family without leaving any traces. Qin Hao said, "Yes, sir." Soon, the news came from the Gu family. When Mu Wanqing heard about this, she called Gu Jingze and asked him worriedly if anything was going to happen. Gu Jingze could only say, "Mother, don't worry. Everything is under control." About the funeral, it was our family's fault. We have to give them a proper funeral. Yes, I'll get people to prepare it. Outsiders might not know about this, but they all knew that the Yu family's parents were implicated by the Gu family. A grand funeral was a must. But no matter how grand a funeral was, it couldn't make up for the loss of 2 lives. Yu Minmin didn't want to care about the funeral, so she let her brother handle it. Yu Chengsheng looked at the Gu family's arrangements. He didn't have much interest in it, but he had to bear the responsibility, so he looked at it one by one. The Gu family's arrangements were very good. He already felt flattered. Gu Jingze even came to greet him personally. Yu Changchang quickly said, "Mr. Gu, you're so busy, but you still came to deal with my family's affairs." Gu Jingze said, "It's all because of me." "No." Yu Changchang shook his head. Yu Changchang shook his head. "I can't blame anyone. What my sister said was right. She married brother-in-law, so everyone has to bear the burden together. I can't say that the Yu family has benefited from the Gu family, but we can't bear the responsibility of the Gu family. This is the fate of my parents. If I want to hate someone, I hate those who threw the bomb. This funeral is already very grand." Chapter 1535. Gu Jingze said, "Since your sister married into our family, she is also a member of our family. She's my sister-in-law. Your parents are also my family. This is what the Gu family should do." Soon, on the day of the funeral. Because the incident had attracted a lot of attention, a lot of people came to the funeral. Knowing that Mr. President would be there, the reporters swarmed outside. But because Yu Minmin was pregnant, she deliberately entered the venue from the back to avoid the reporters outside. When Gu Jingming came in, his bodyguards were standing outside in a row of black uniforms. It looked very solemn. The TV was also broadcasting at the same time. It was almost a live broadcast of the whole thing. Gu Jingzi came later and entered the venue with Lin Che, also dressed in black. Gu Jingyan and Liu Beichun walked in together. Previously, there had been a rumor that they had divorced, but when they saw that they were holding hands and looking better than before, the rumor was dispelled. Gu Jingyan and Liu Beichun walked inside together. After entering the venue, Gu Jingzi looked inside and asked, "Where's Jingyu? Why isn't he here yet?" Lin Che looked around and confirmed that he was not here. He quickly picked up his phone and sent a WeChat message to Gu Jingyu. "Where are you? He's not here yet." Gu Jingyu replied after a long while, "Wait a minute. I have something to do." Lin Che said, "He said he'll be here soon. Just wait for a while." Outside, there was another commotion and a scream. It seemed that Mu Firen had arrived. Everyone looked outside, and as expected, Mu Firen came in with Haiying. The reporters immediately snapped pictures, as if they had caught a big scoop. When they entered, Mu Firen was still muttering, "What's wrong with these people? Can't they get the point? Why are they taking pictures of us?" Yu Minmin said, "It's because you rarely appear in the same frame. Besides, although people in the entertainment circle know about your relationship, people outside the circle don't know about it." Mu Firen saw that Yu Minmin was sitting there and didn't seem to be anything different. She walked over and looked at her. Yu Minmin held her arm and asked her to sit down. "It's okay. I'm used to it. I've cried and made a scene. Now, I just want to catch the murderer as soon as possible. As for my parents, since they're gone, I won't cry and make a scene so irrationally. After all, we're still alive." It was not the time to be sad at such a busy time. She took a deep breath and rubbed her stomach. If she were to continue crying, the one in her stomach might not be able to take it anymore. She might as well live as she could. Mu Firen sighed. Those damnable bastards actually dared to act like this. The funeral soon began. Only then did Gu Jingyu rush over. As he walked in, he said, "Sorry for the delay. Well, it's good that you're here. Stay at the back. Don't be an eyesore," Gu Jingzi said. Gu Jingyu curled his lips. He knew he was late, so he didn't say anything and ran to the back. Lin Che secretly poked him. "Where did you go?" Gu Jingyu mumbled, "Nothing." However, Lin Che had already thought of a possibility. Suwon, raising her eyebrows. She didn't say anything and continued to look ahead with a smile. After the funeral, everyone was exhausted, especially when there were so many reporters following them outside. Yu Minmin watched as the coffin was buried. His parents were buried together in the National Garden. Many people who had contributed to the country were buried here, as well as many members of the royal family. His father would definitely feel honored to be buried here. She thought about it and couldn't help but cry again. Beside her, Gu Jingming held her hand. She shook her head and smiled at him, wiping away her tears. After the funeral was done, everyone went to the venue to eat. However, Lin Che saw that Gu Jingzi was making a call outside. Lin Che thought it was strange. He walked out and heard Gu Jingzi saying coldly, "Tell me after you find them. The Yin family dared to escape, so they should know this outcome. If they want to fight to the death with us, they have to see if they have the ability to do so." Lin Che walked out immediately. "What? The Yin family? Is it the Yin family who did all this?" Gu Jingzi paused. He turned back to look at Lin Che and put down the phone. "You heard it." Lin Che said, "It's in lawn." Gu Jingzi nodded his head silently. Lin Che said hatefully, "What does she want to do? First, she harmed you, and now the Yin family has already moved and escaped." Hearing this, Lin Che was even more stunned. "What should we do?" Just now, Qin Hao called and said that he saw them in Africa. It seems that they went there to take refuge. I suspect that they used the arms market there. Originally, they had built many factories in those poor countries, so it is understandable that they went there to hide. Will it be harder to find them there? There are many small countries there. The situation will be very complicated. Gu Jingze nodded. That's why I'm saying, find the exact location. Blood must be paid with blood. I won't let them off so easily. Lin Che said, if you go somewhere, bring me with you, especially to a dangerous place. If you go alone, I will be so worried that I won't be able to sleep. Gu Jingze hugged her. Don't worry, I will be fine. No, I will really be worried. It's better for me to go with you. I won't be so worried if I can look after you. They have been together for so many years. How could not know her? All right, I promise you. If I go, I will definitely bring you with me, okay? Only then did Lin Che feel at ease and leaned into his embrace. Gu Jingze sighed. You are really becoming more and more like a child. So clingy. Why? Are you annoyed? Lin Che said. What will happen if I am annoyed? He lowered his head and asked. Humph, you really dare to be annoyed. Lin Che said as she lifted her toes and bit his lips. She bit him hard. Hey, the kitten is biting again. He covered his lips and looked at her. Lin Che was still snorting and making threatening gestures. Gu Jingze tapped her forehead helplessly. Only you dare to be so bold. Don't think that I won't teach you a lesson when we get home. He lowered his head and said something in her ear. Lin Che's face instantly turned red, and he punched him in the chest. You're so annoying. Ouch, it hurts my eyes. Inside the door, Gu Jingyu had already seen everything. Lin Che saw him come out with his hands covering his eyes, and her face turned even redder. Gu Jingze quickly regained his cold expression. How can you come so late at such an occasion? Gu Jingyu scratched his head. Sai, didn't I say? I have something to do. All right, you've been watching from behind for a long time. If you're here to watch, then tell me, what do you want? Gu Jingze asked. Gu Jingyu scratched his head again. Lin Che, is your company still hiring? Why? Suwan, do you still remember? Chapter 1536. Lin Che looked at him. Of course I remember. What about her? Well, I want you to do me a favor. Gu Jingyu scratched his head, not knowing what to say. It turned out that Suwan had a falling out with the company. Because she accepted an advertisement, she became famous overnight. In an instant, the advertisement touched countless people. On Weibo and the internet, people started to pay attention to it. Therefore, her company suddenly asked her to do something she didn't want to do, so she quarreled with the company. Now Gu Jingyu wanted to help her, but I don't want her to know that this has something to do with me. I hope you won't tell her either. Lin Che found it strange. Why? Since you want to help her, why don't you tell her? Gu Jingyu looked ahead. If I say it's me, she might not accept my help anymore. Lin Che shook his head, feeling that things between them were a bit complicated. Did something happen between the two of you? Gu Jingyu looked at Lin Che. Maybe I was wrong from the start. I just feel that I played her at the start, and now I feel sorry for her. Why, I forced her to stay in my house because of my selfish thoughts. Now that I think about it, it's funny. It's also because of this that she thinks I'm that kind of person. Lin Che tilted his head and looked at him. Where there's a will, there's a way. Since you're not that kind of person, others won't think you're that kind of person either. It's just a matter of time. I think that after a while, maybe she'll understand that you're not that kind of person, when she knows that you've done a lot for her. Gu Jingyu smiled and looked at her. I don't want her to know anything either. Don't worry. Since it's rare for you to ask for my help, I'll definitely help you. Yeah, after all, you're my sister-in-law and the first empress of country C. Damn you. When did I become the first empress? Of course. Didn't you see the recent online rankings? You're the most influential woman. Lin Che had been so busy recently that he didn't have time to care about the rankings. Gu Jingyu said, I saw that there are so many titles about you. Movie empress, big boss of the entertainment industry, countless artists under you, young mistress of the Gu family. Why do these words sound so sour? Lin Che said. Gu Jingyu said, I'm envious, jealous, and hateful. He clicked his tongue and looked at her. I watched you grow up. Sigh. So when I think about it, I feel like I'm getting old. You're actually so amazing. Lin Che spat in contempt. The two of them joked around for a while before Lin Che picked up his phone to look at the ranking. Sure enough, her name was on it. The most influential man was her husband, Gu Jingze, and the most influential woman was her. There was also Yu Minmin, ranked second. Because of the incident at the Pavilion Lord Manor, her fame had greatly increased recently. Lin Che raised an eyebrow. How did you evaluate this thing? It depends on who has the most fans. Everyone votes. All right. The funeral went smoothly, and everyone went back to their respective homes. The investigation bureau sent news that the wreckage of the bomb had been found. It could be seen that it was a suicide bomb, so it avoided many checkpoints and directly drove into the villa and blew it up inside. 3 of the bodyguards were killed, and the Yu family's parents were also killed. After Lin Che went back, he first turned on his computer to check the recent very famous advertisement. It was a story of a woman's growth, promoting women's rights. Because it was close to life and down to earth, many women felt that it was very empathetic. Therefore, Su-won in the advertisement also became very popular. The micro-movies of their advertisements were also flooded with views. Lin Che looked at Su-won and felt that Su-won's performance was indeed very impressive. She didn't put on much makeup, and the little freckles on her face made her very unique, making people feel like they were made of flesh and blood. She wasn't pretentious at all. She turned off the phone and told the company to contact Su-won. The next day, the company immediately contacted Su-won. Su-won came to Lin Che's company in a daze. Lin Che rarely came to the company recently, so he attracted a lot of attention. When everyone heard that Lin Che came for Su-won, they all looked over. Su-won walked in and felt everyone's attentive gazes. She couldn't get used to becoming famous overnight. She could only force herself to smile awkwardly at everyone. Although she graduated from the drama academy, she had never been specially trained by anyone from her previous company to her current one. She had never worked with a proper manager either. Therefore, she was a little confused about how to deal with this sudden burst of popularity. She didn't know what to do. She only knew that in her previous small company, she definitely couldn't go drink with people after becoming famous. Sister Che is already waiting inside. You can go in, the staff said to Su-won. Su-won smiled and walked in. She saw Lin Che sitting inside and smiling at her. Sister Che. She walked over and took a deep breath. Lin Che said, "Since I've asked you to come here, I'll cut to the chase. Since we know each other, I won't waste time on small talk. I heard that you're preparing to terminate your contract with your previous management company. Are you interested in joining our company?" Su-won had gone through many twists and turns. In the past few months, she had been going around various companies. She didn't know if it was because her luck was bad, but everywhere she went, there were problems. Su-won looked at Lin Che. "Can I?" Lin Che said, "Of course. Why can't you?" Su-won said, "But I had financial disputes before. If you guys sign me, you might have to pay these." Lin Che said, "Since I dare to sign you, I dare to accept your past disputes." Lin Che naturally wasn't afraid. Gu Jingyu asked her to help him. When the time comes, he could just let Gu Jingyu handle these things. Since she was Gu Jingyu's people, he would definitely take the initiative to handle it, so that Lin Che could accept it with peace of mind. Su-won looked at her gratefully. "Really? Thank you, Sister Che." Lin Che wanted to say that she was thanking the wrong person. Gu Jingyu was the one who should be thanking her. However, Gu Jingyu didn't allow her to say it, and she wouldn't say anything. "Okay, you can find someone to look at our contract. Remember to look at it more this time. Don't be tricked by the contract again," Lin Che reminded. Su-won couldn't help but smile. "How could I? Sister Che doesn't even care about my financial disputes. Why would she lie to me? That won't do. You should look at it more." "Amen. Thank you, Sister Che. I will." Su-won didn't think that Lin Che would take a fancy to her. She looked at Lin Che and thought of his relationship with that person. She couldn't help but open her mouth, knowing that it wasn't good to ask this. I want to ask Sister Che, why did you sign me?" Chapter 1537. Lin Che looked at her. "Your micro-movie has a lot of influence. Your company probably didn't sign it for you back then, right?" Su-won thought it was funny thinking about this. Because it's for charity, the company didn't want me to do it. But I thought it was pretty good, so I signed a contract with the director and filmed it for them for free. I didn't expect it to become popular. Yeah, Lin Che thought about it and said faintly, "A lot of things are like this. Unintentionally planting a willow tree will lead to great success." So, Sister Che was willing to sign me because of this micro-movie? Lin Che didn't deny it and smiled. Otherwise, why do you think it is? Suwon's expression changed. She lowered her head and hid her conjectures. However, she hadn't contacted Gu Jingyu for a long time. Presumably, he had already completely forgotten about her. Since that was the case, why would she think about these connections? She was simply thinking too much. She smiled. Then I have no objections. Let me take a look at the contract. Okay, I look forward to working with you. Lin Che shook hands with her. Suwon took the contract and left. She didn't think that she would be able to enter Lin Che's studio one day. Now that she was signed here, it was like she had a direct connection with being popular. As long as she could sign here, it seemed like she would definitely be popular. Therefore, many people wanted to sign in here. However, there were only a few people signed by Lin Che's studio every year. Not everyone could get in. Suwon had already moved out of the school. Although she didn't have much income, she still rented a house outside, because the people in the dormitory would always make fun of her. Plus, now that she was popular, they made it seem even more unreasonable. She couldn't handle it and could only move out. When she returned home and looked outside, she felt like there was a pair of eyes staring at her. She looked down from the window. There was nothing in the pitch-black neighborhood. There were only rows of cars parked there. It was as quiet as winter. She didn't know that in one of the low-profile Audi cars, Gu Jingyu looked up and leaned against the back of the chair, feeling a bit tired. He adjusted the seat to the lowest position and lay down with his arms as a pillow. After not seeing each other for so long, he felt that he was too much back then. The things he said were too much. The things he did were also too much. However, there was no turning back now. He could only do something silently and hope that she could live a good life. That was enough. Lin Che quickly received Suwon's response. She looked at the contract and felt that there was no problem. She sighed and thought that Gu Jingyu had finally grown up after playing for so many years. Actually, in the past, Lin Che had never thought that Gu Jingyu would act like a child. However, compared to Gu Jingze and Gu Jingming, Gu Jingyu was really too childish. Gu Jingze suddenly asked Qin how to inform Lin Che that the elders' nation in Africa had invited Gu Jingze for a visit. Gu Jingze had already agreed. Lin Che immediately stood up. He thought about what Gu Jingze had said a few days ago and felt that this matter must have something to do with Enlon. She said, "I'll go too." Qin Hao said, "Sir is here to invite you to join us." Lin Che packed up and followed Qin Hao to the airport. Because Yu Minmin was going to give birth soon, Gu Jingming couldn't leave her at all, so Gu Jingze had to deal with it. Before she left, she asked Gu Xinian to take good care of his sister. Gu Xinian agreed and told them to leave with peace of mind. She sat on the plane and watched it take off. She said to Gu Jingze, "I think Nian Nian is too mature." Gu Jingze smiled. "Isn't that good?" Sigh. "Although I trust him, I always feel that he is like a little adult. He's so young, but he already knows so much and does so many things. It's as if he has never experienced childhood at all." Gu Jingze said, "Isn't that a childhood? What kind of person do you want your child to be? What kind of life do you want your child to lead?" Lin Che thought for a moment and said, "Actually, I'm not thinking about how my child's life will be like. Other people might hope that their child will become a scientist or an artist, that they will have to get into a prestigious school, that they will have to get married and have children. I've never thought about any of these. I just hope that my child can live a happy life and live the life that he or she wants." Gu Jingze said, "So, this is the life he wants. He will be happy like this." Lin Che said, "Really? Really?" He smiled and squeezed her hand. "Everyone's happiness is different. We can't just look at someone else's happy life and expect everyone to imitate that person and live the same life. For example, I'll be happy when I see you happy, but some people just think that I'm too boring, right?" Lin Che chuckled. He didn't forget to say sweet nothings at a time like this. The two of them hugged each other and watched the plane disappear into the clouds. After flying for more than 10 hours, they finally reached the African continent. From afar, they could see the barren land below them. When they got off the plane, they saw that this was the biggest city in Elder Country. The city walls were dilapidated and full of holes. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze. "Why is it so messy here?" Gu Jingze said, This place has been warring all year round. It has only stopped in the past 2 years, so we haven't had time to repair it. War was indeed a fatal weapon to make a place poor. The president of the other country came to welcome Gu Jingze personally and thanked him along the way. Because Gu Jingze had set up a factory here, many of them had jobs and finally had some income. Country C had also helped to restore the traffic here, so they were very grateful. As the car passed by, poverty was written on the faces and bodies of the people on the streets. It made one feel a little sad. It made Lin Che feel that there were places in the world that made people sympathize with them, but many people didn't know about them. Lin Che said, "They are so pitiful." Gu Jingze said, "This place has regressed for many years. Many of them don't have food or clothes to wear. They rely on international aid to survive, so it's very messy here. You must not go out alone." Okay. Lin Che really didn't dare to go out. She looked outside and felt as if someone was staring at their car. Lin Che grabbed Gu Jingze's arm vigilantly. She saw that it was a knight on a horse. He was a black young man, and she couldn't tell his age. He seemed to be a guard of the president's office. She squinted her eyes and remembered this person. She felt that when she went back, she had to let the people around her pay attention to him. After they settled down, she kept staring at this person. At night, Gu Jingze went to discuss some matters, and she stayed at the place where they were staying to look at the computer. She heard a sound coming from the window outside. The black young man who had been staring at her jumped in from the window. Chapter 1538. Lin Che looked at the man in surprise. "Hey, come with me." He came in front of Lin Che fiercely. Lin Che calmly raised his head. "Why don't you think about it? Why'd I let you into my room so easily? Do you think I have any ulterior motive?" As soon as he finished speaking, a few guards had already rushed up. The young man didn't expect that he was ambushed. He was pressed to the ground and shouted, let go of me." Lin Che looked at the young man on the ground. "What's your motive? Who sent you here? Tell me." The young man changed his ferocious look and looked up at Lin Che. His eyes were red. "Please help me. Save my sister." Lin Che was stunned. What did he mean? He said, "Come with me. Come with me. You'll know." Qin Hao was still following him. "Madam, you can't trust him. Maybe he's just luring us there." Lin Che stopped and thought for a moment. He looked at him. "Where do you want me to go?" "It's just outside. It's not far. Please come with me." Lin Che looked at Qin Hao. "Bring our men and come with me." Qin Hao was still a little hesitant. Lin Che looked at the young man. He felt that there was a reason for the red in his eyes. "Let's go." Since Lin Che had already made up his mind, Qin Hao had no other choice but to follow him out. They followed the young man all the way out. He was escorted and pointed in the direction as they walked. It was not far, but they still had to take a car. After walking for more than 10 minutes, they arrived at a shanty town. This was their shanty town. This place was originally a very dangerous place. After entering, everyone looked outside cautiously. Qin Hao couldn't help but ask the young man, "Where are you taking us?" The young man pointed inside. "It's here." Qin Hao was worried. He walked over and pulled open the curtain of shanty. Then, Lin Che heard a weak voice from inside. "Brother, are you back?" Lin Che was stunned. He walked over first and saw a black girl lying on a dilapidated bed. She seemed to be around 11 or 12 years old. Her lips were shriveled and her body was thin. She was nestled in a pile of cotton wool that looked like garbage. She was almost invisible. The youth broke free from the man. Lin Che gestured for them to be fine. They let go of the youth. Only then did the young man run over and kneel by the bed, holding the young girl's hand. "I'm back. I brought people to save you." Lin Che walked over. "What's wrong with her?" At this time, Qin Hao immediately saw through it. "Oh no, she's sick. Quick, madam, get out. There are all kinds of diseases here, and many of them were contagious plagues." Qin Hao was extremely nervous. He was worried that Lin Che would be infected. Lin Che retreated and looked at the girl inside. His heart ached. She looked at him. Her eyes were filled with despair. She was used to despair. It was really unbearable. Soon, the young man came out as well. This time, Qin Hao was determined not to let him approach. He stood in front of Lin Che and looked at the youth. "What do you mean?" But the young man suddenly knelt on the ground. Please, save my sister. Lin Che stood there. Is she really contagious? He raised his head and nodded silently. Lin Che was shocked. It was impossible to say that he wasn't afraid. The young man said, My name is Andrew. My sister's name is Ha. She's sick. I know that only you guys can save her. Otherwise, she's dead. Why? Lin Che asked curiously. She's sick. You should bring her to the hospital. Why do you have to do it here? No, I can't go to the hospital, Andrew said loudly. She never came out after entering the hospital. I can't send her there. Was this illness that serious? Although they could tell that this place was very poor, there didn't seem to be any plague. Tears welled up in Andrew's eyes. My uncle and my aunt are like this. They never came back. She's the only family I have now. I can't lose her. Qin Hao also saw that something was wrong. Have many people died here? That's right. But why hasn't there been any news from the outside? Andrew's eyes were red with hatred. Because they know that you're coming. They asked us to hide the news. Now, people who are sick on the streets will be dragged to the hospital. If they're dead, they'll be quietly buried in the back. No one is allowed to walk on the streets. I've hidden my sister here for a few days, but she's getting worse and worse. I know that you have good medical facilities. With good doctors, you can definitely help me save my sister, right? Lin Che and Qin Hao looked at each other. Qin Hao said in Mandarin, Madam, they actually hid the news. They didn't let anyone know. There must be a conspiracy. We have to inform Sir immediately. Lin Che said, Aren't they treating human lives like grass? How can they do this? If they're sick, they should get treatment. If they can't treat themselves, they should get help from others. Why are they hiding it? That's right. Something's wrong. Lin Che nodded. Go and inform Gu Jingze. Lin Che looked at the young man on the ground. Also, get someone to wear protective gear and bring his sister along. Qin Hao said, Madam. Lin Che said, bring her along to study the outbreak of the disease. It'll be good if we can save her life at the same time. Qin Hao felt that it made sense. He immediately ordered his men to carry it out. Lin Che looked at Andrew. We'll save your sister. But you can't stay here anymore. You should go with your sister. You need to be examined and quarantined too. Andrew looked at her gratefully. Really? Thank you. Really? Lin Che raised his hand and ordered his men to retreat. But unexpectedly outside, Oh no, madam, we're surrounded. Qin Hao ran back. His face was pale and he didn't look well. Lin Che said in surprise, What happened? We're surrounded. What? Qin Hao had a bad feeling. I think there must be a conspiracy. Could it be that Sir is also in danger? Lin Che's heart skipped a beat. She was very worried about Gu Jingze. She gritted her teeth. How many people do they have? How many do we have? If we rush out, is it still possible? At this moment, Andrew suddenly said from below, Are you in trouble? Lin Che looked at him. We can't leave. We're surrounded. Chapter 1539. Lin Che looked down at Andrew. Yes, we're surrounded. We can't get out now. Andrew looked at his sister. I have a place to go. Lin Che's eyes flickered. Where? Follow me. Qin Hao was still a little worried. Lin Che said, Only we can save him now. Moreover, we have no other choice. We can either fight our way out or choose to believe him. Qin Hao looked at him and knew that there was no other way. He could only nod. Andrew said, We often fight here, so we've prepared a good place to escape. Lin Che believed him. People who fought all year round should have experience in this area. Soon, Andrew brought them to a place with a manhole cover. He opened the manhole cover and jumped in first. Then, everyone followed him. They walked all the way from the bottom to the outside. When he saw the sunlight, Qin Hao heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Che went out. Andrew asked, Where are we going now? I'll get someone to send you and your sister to get treatment, but we're going to the President Palace. Since you could sneak into my place, do you know where we can get close to the President Palace? Andrew thought for a moment. I know a place to sneak in, but what are you going to do? Lin Che said, We've fallen out with your president. You saw it too. They sent people to surround us just now. If we die, you and your sister might not get treatment. Moreover, you'll be arrested and killed immediately because you're close to us. Andrew was shocked. Are we going to fight again? Lin Che took a deep breath. I don't want to either, but your president provoked us first. I think it's inevitable. But as for what will happen, we'll have to wait and see how things develop. Andrew sighed and said, "This used to be a place where we played, but look at how many people are left here now. When I was young, my friends who went to school with me and played with me have either died or escaped. Forget it. I know I can't go back." He pointed a direction to Lin Che. Lin Che smiled and thanked him. Then, he pulled Qin Hao and walked forward. This was also a manhole cover. There were many twists and turns inside, but it was unobstructed. "We're here. This is the place." Qin Hao went up first, and all the bodyguards followed him. When he arrived at the presidential palace, he saw that there was no one inside. "It was full of people yesterday. Why is it so crowded today?" Qin Hao was still in shock when he saw someone holding a gun behind him. "Who's there? Come out and raise your hands." Qin Hao immediately picked up his gun as well. However, when he saw who it was, "Don't move. It's me, Qin Hao, me and my wife." The people inside were Gu Jingza's men. When the man saw that it was Lin Che, he immediately let go. "Madam, Assistant Qin, it's so good to see you." Sir is so worried. Under the lead of this guard, the few of them followed into the presidential palace. This was the first time Lin Che had been to the front. He had passed by the elder nation yesterday, but he had stayed at the back. He had not seen what the elder nation's presidential palace looked like. When he was in the country, he often went to Glass Palace. Now that he saw this place, he could indeed feel the contrast between a big country and a small country. However, it was the presidential palace after all, so it still had a solemn feeling. Gu Jingza was sitting inside. When he saw Lin Che, he hurried over. "Something happened just now. I couldn't find you when I got back." Lin Che hugged Gu Jingza as well. Just now, he also thought that he might be in danger. Fortunately, they were all fine. Lin Che said, "What exactly happened?" Gu Jingza said, "They called us here for a conspiracy." It turned out that before they could come to an agreement, Gu Jingza had already discovered that there was an ambush here. Fortunately, Gu Jingza came prepared when he came. The guards outside were much stronger than them. It was not a problem for them to fight 1 against 10. When the president saw that things were not going well, he immediately ran away and temporarily abandoned the presidential palace here. Because Gu Jingza saw that Lin Che was not around, he did not dare to leave rashly. He was worried that Lin Che would not be able to find him, so he stayed here. Lin Che said, "Seriously, they even abandoned the presidential palace." Gu Jingza said, "Because of the years of war, the people here are often replaced. The president has just taken over the presidential palace not long ago. It is normal for it to be taken away, so he doesn't care." Lin Che only felt that it was strange. Then he remembered about the plague and said quickly, "Oh yes, we just realized that they have a conspiracy here." Lin Che told him what had happened. Gu Jingza thought about it silently. Maybe the forces here have already linked up with the Yin family. They might have already gotten involved, so they purposely lured us here. Then what should we do? Let's leave first. With Lin Che here, it was not convenient for Gu Jingza to stay and worry about her safety. Then the Yin family. Gu Jingza said, "If the elders' nation insists on cooperating with the Yin family, then this war is inevitable." Lin Che was stunned. Was there really going to be a war? On the other side, the Yin family and Bagua walked into the elders' nation's temporary residence. "I told you, Gu Jingza is not easy to fool. You definitely didn't believe me, but now, we didn't expect the people he brought with him to be so powerful." The current president of the elders' nation had also just become the new president candidate. They cooperated with the Yin family because the Yin family supported their regime and gave them a lot of military aid. "Sai, now that we are in a life-and-death struggle with the Gu family, I'm afraid we have no choice but to fight." And Bagua raised his head and narrowed his eyes at him. "We need to borrow your troops." The president jumped in fright and waved his hands. No. How can we defeat Country C? Don't worry, this place is too far from Country C. They are fighting in the long run. Also, on the international stage, you have to act pitifully. There are bound to be people who disagree with this war. They might not be able to win. But if they fight, what's wrong? We've funded you with so much money. If you don't agree to mobilize everyone to fight against the plague, I promise that I'll make it public that you've suppressed the outbreak of the plague in order to seize power. By then, your current position, the power you've seized, and the support you've gained from the people will disappear immediately. This kind of threat was hard to resist, and Bagua looked at him and smiled viciously. He thought to himself, Gu Jingze, didn't you want to come? Anyway, we're in the same boat now. A man with nothing to lose is not afraid of a man with shoes. At most, we will fight to the death. But even if the Yin family wants to die, we will make the Gu family a scapegoat. Gu Jingming will not be able to continue being the president. Chapter 1540. They didn't even have a chance to resist, did they? And Bagua looked at him and smiled smugly. However, after he left the room, only he could digest the gloomy expression on his face. Back at the residence, Anlan was lying inside watching the news. She held the remote control and lay on the tattered sofa. There was no smile on her face at all. Second uncle, how long are we going to stay here? There's nothing in this broken place. The sofa is so lousy, and there's not a single TV that I can understand. It's so dirty outside, and the food is so disgusting. I want my big khaki sofa, my 2-meter waterbed, my massage chair, and enough. And Bagua sat down and looked at Anlan. You've caused such a huge mess. Don't you know how to reflect? Anlan's face darkened. She didn't want to do this. Who knew that Gu Jingze would take revenge on the Yin family? Now they had no choice but to come to this shabby place. Their families were still worried and insisted on fighting with the Gu family. If it were her, she really wanted to say that they should go and beg for mercy. Maybe Gu Jingze would let them go. Living here right now was really unbearable. All right, what else can I do? She snorted, and Bagua slammed the table. You're already here, and you still want to leave? Don't even think about leaving. Seeing second uncle like this, Anlan was really shocked. He felt that his family was crazy. They actually wanted to use this place to start a war. Lin Che and Gu Jingze arrived at the airport. The airport here had suddenly been shut down. Now the passageway was open, and Gu Jingze's own people were stationed there. It was Lin Che's first time seeing such a desolate airport. There was no one. Only his people were stationed there, on guard, watching the surroundings. Sir, the plane is ready. You can board the plane now. Okay. Gu Jingze put his arm around Lin Che and walked over. In the distance, Andrew and his sister, who were about to fly away with him. But because they had to treat the plague, they wouldn't be brought back to Country C to prevent the virus from spreading. They would be brought elsewhere and treated by Chun Yuqing's people. It wasn't that there was no way to treat this plague, but there really wasn't that much medicine here, and there wasn't that much equipment. However, at this moment, oh no, they're here. They've mobilized the people here and surrounded us. They said we're not allowed to bring anyone out of here. A guard ran in from outside. Lin Che asked in surprise, what do you mean? They mobilized their men and said we took their 2 children away. How could this be? Lin Che raised his head and looked at Gu Jingze. Why would they believe such a lie? Gu Jingze said, okay, now I need to solve the problem. Lin Che said, then what should we do now? Gu Jingze said, send someone to have a look first. Gu Jingze climbed to the roof of the airport building and looked down at the people below. As expected, there were many people surrounding him. Gu Jingze said, can't the plane fly out now? We can't fly it out. I'm worried that they will hinder us. If someone fires and hits the plane won't be able to fly away. We might even fall into an irreversible disaster. All right, ask them what they want. Qin Hao asked a local to shout at the people below. Don't listen to other people's instigation. They took Andrew and his sister away to treat them. They didn't say they want to harm them. However, the people below knew that Gu Jingze and his men would argue, so they shouted at everyone, don't believe them. Bad people won't say they're bad people. They just want to destroy us. Yes, hand over the 2 children. You're not allowed to take anything away from here. It's all ours. Hand over the 2 poor children. We're the ones who treat them. It has nothing to do with you outsiders. Don't even think about taking our children away. Andrew had already heard the voices outside. He climbed up from below. Lin, is there a problem now? The guard quickly pulled Andrew back, not allowing him to get too close. Lin Che looked outside. Nothing. We're trying our best to solve it. Do they want you to hand us over? Lin Shaye looked outside calmly. Andrew said, "Will you hand us over?" Andrew's entire body was as black as charcoal, but his eyes were bright, especially since Lin Shaye had agreed to take them away. His eyes had been full of despair, but now there was a lot more hope. How could Lin Shaye have the heart to extinguish his hope again? "No, we won't let them take you away." Andrew seemed to have heard the most beautiful sentence in the world. "Thank you. Really, thank you so much." Lin Shaye shook his head. "Take care of your sister first. We'll find someone to treat you." Andrew went down with a peace of mind. However, when he looked outside, he saw many people from his hometown banging on the gate of the airport. They were throwing things inside and cursing at the people. Why was it like this? Why did they support these bad people? Andrew didn't understand. He was just anxious. He wanted to tell everyone that he wanted to leave on his own. These people were helping him and saving his sister's life. However, these people obviously couldn't hear his voice. Seeing those agitated people smashing the guards' heads, he felt even more excited. When he saw the people above, he hurriedly ran over. "Let me go up. I'll talk to them." Chin Hao saw Andrew. He thought for a moment and waved for him to come up. He took the megaphone and shouted to the people below. "Hey, I'm Andrew. They're here to help us, not to harm us." Below was their representative, but he immediately shouted to his own people. Andrew must have been threatened by them. That's why he said that. "They're afraid. They're holding our hostages now. They might kill Andrew." When these people heard this, they became even more excited. After Andrew finished speaking, he didn't get a corresponding response. Instead, he heard them become even more agitated. They even shouted to save Andrew and not to kill him. Andrew was really anxious. Why? Why didn't they believe him? Chapter 1541. Suddenly, more and more people rushed in. The situation became even more tense. Lin Shaye watched from behind. He raised his head and saw Gu Jingze frowning as well. He knew that if he had a plan, he wouldn't frown. It seemed like he was like an arrow on a bowstring, but he didn't know where to shoot it. Gu Jingze looked at the time and picked up the phone. "Brother." He was talking to Gu Jingming. Gu Jingming was surprised. "How are you now?" "Not good." "They're very emotional. They've been provoked. Our army is ready to receive you at the Straits. What should we do now?" "We'll send people in soon and send fighter jets to pick you up. But it takes time. Try to delay them. It's best if you can leave. If you can't, don't fight them." "Okay." Gu Jingze put down the phone. Lin Shaye felt even more terrified when he heard it. Someone would come to pick them up soon, but the time was uncertain. Then, the people outside would rush in very soon. Many of them were innocent people who had been instigated to be used as a shield, so that their people couldn't shoot them directly. Otherwise, they would be accused of killing innocent people and sent to the military court. But what should they do now? Andrew closed his eyes in despair and looked down. For the first time, he felt that the place he was in was so uncomfortable. Lin Shaye jumped up. "Andrew, forget it. Someone will come to pick us up soon. We just need to delay them." Andrew looked at the excited people below. "How long will it take?" "I don't know." Lin Shaye couldn't be sure. He could only watch. At this moment, the excited people outside finally broke through the fence. They rushed in at once. Although they didn't have guns in their hands, they had the most basic weapons. Some were holding sticks, and some were holding kitchen knives. Some even picked up stones and hit them directly. The bodyguards inside blocked them, but many people still fell to the ground, bleeding. Andrew was so anxious that tears streamed down his face. What should we do? Seeing that someone had fallen to the ground, he wanted to leave, but his feet seemed to be nailed to the ground. He couldn't move at all. No, I can't just leave like this. Since they're doing this for me, as long as you hand me over, you can leave, right? Andrew gradually clenched his fists, raised his head, and looked at Lin Shaye. Lin Shaye felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. What are you doing? I promised to take you away, but they won't let you go now. If I don't go out, they'll kill us. Look, Andrew looked down. He had never thought that one day there would be a place where blood would flow like a river because of him. He bit his lip. Let me go down. Take my sister away. No, I don't have a choice. This is my fate. Being born here is my fate, and dying here is also my fate. After he said the last sentence, the tears in the corners of his eyes finally flowed down. After saying that, he jumped down. Andrew, Lin Che shouted. However, Chi and Hao pulled her back. Andrew dashed toward the crowd. Stop fighting, they've let me go, let me go. Due to the chaos outside, many people had drowned out Andrew's weak voice. Andrew quickly jumped into a car, stood in the car, and shouted to the people below, look, they let me go. Don't fight anymore, okay? Finally, someone saw Andrew. The people from the government saw him at once. Someone cursed. Why did he come down? They actually hoped that Andrew was still inside, so that they could keep rushing forward. However, because Andrew had run down himself, many of the people who were in a frenzy gradually came to a stop. At the same time, the sound of fighter jets roared. Everyone saw several planes flying toward the inside. Lin Che stood there and watched, her eyes filled with tears. Gu Jingze hugged her without a care for anything else. Let's go first, he won't die. Lin Che turned around and looked deeply at Andrew, who was standing in the crowd. Yes, maybe he wouldn't die, maybe he would. In this chaotic place, a young man who had just grown up would never have a stable future. He clearly had a chance to leave just now. But now he had no choice but to return to the place that made him feel despair. Thinking of his hopeful eyes when he was about to leave, she remembered. That was supposed to be the eyes of every young man, but here he had already hidden that look in his heart. It was only in that moment that he revealed his true desire. Leaving this place, leaving this chaotic place, was his greatest desire. However, at this moment, Lin Che's heart couldn't take it anymore. She nestled in Gu Jingze's arms and started to cry. Gu Jingze carried her and boarded the plane. The group was finally able to leave. The people below raised their heads numbly and looked at the sky. The people from the government shouted angrily, "How can you let them go? How can you?" But it was too late. They looked angrily at the young man standing in the car. It was all because of him, just a little bit more. Lin Che and Gu Jingze boarded the warship together. Gu Jingze picked up the phone and said, "We're here, brother. We can start the war anytime. I've already sent a notice to the military. Someone will be sending troops over immediately. Since the En family wants to use this method to deal with the Gu family, they should know that there's a price to pay for it." Gu Jingze put down the phone and looked at Lin Che, who was still in a bad mood. "We'll find him." He patted her shoulder. Lin Che held back her tears and said, "They're going to war again soon. Will he survive in the chaos of war? If he's lucky, of course he will. What if he's unlucky? That's his fate." Lin Che closed her eyes and leaned into his embrace. She really hoped that there would be no war and that there would be peace everywhere. After witnessing the horrors of war, she finally understood how precious peace was. The warship sent them to a safe country, and then they took a plane back home. At this time, Gu Jingming was broadcasting the news of the war against the elder nation on the television. Gu Jingming said, "Unless it's absolutely necessary, I don't want to start a war. However, when their bombs are already on top of our heads, when our people start to worry about unexpected disasters, our country can't just sit still and wait for death." Among the people, they had their own interpretation of war. Some people were extremely against it, while some people were calling for war. Lin Che, on the other hand, instructed the soldiers at home, "Take good care of Andrew's sister. I hope that one day when he appears alive, his sister will have recovered." Chapter 1542. Soon, Gu Jingming sent troops to the allied countries. They first led the troops to stay at the friendly country's seaside and then slowly approached Elder Nation. The other side was already on guard. The two countries were at each other's throats. The En family had no other choice but to let Gu Jingze go. They could only condemn the Gu family's tyranny internationally, hoping to put pressure on them. Thus, the En family had been running around all over the place recently. They would eventually run out of money. They had been running around so much that their reserves were starting to run out. Thus, the En family was suddenly strapped for cash. Everyone in the family started to cut down on their daily expenses. Lan was already used to buying things everywhere. Now that she was in a poor place like Africa and couldn't eat or buy anything, she was already furious that she was living such a tough life. Now, she lost all of her anger. Looking at the food in front of her, she couldn't take it anymore and flipped the table. What the hell is this? I don't want to eat any of it. There were 2 dishes and a soup, and it was so disgusting. In the past, they had a table full of dishes. She would be full in just a few bites. Now that she was living such a poor life, she couldn't take it anymore. Just then, Mbegwa heard her crazy voice and walked in. All right, it's fine if you don't like it. If you don't eat, you can starve. What? Anlan said angrily. What do you mean? Where's my foundation? The foundation my dad left me is enough for me to spend my entire life. You took it away, and now you're feeding me this rubbish? Mbegwa said. Your foundation? It's all gone. What? Anlan's face burned with anger. She was so angry that she kicked the chair to the side and walked out. The people below wanted to stop her. Mbegwa said, let her walk around. She doesn't have much money. Let's see where she can go. Anlan really didn't have money. She didn't want to live like this anymore. She thought that Mbegwa had spent so much money to buy troops and firearms because he wanted to fight the Gu family. Then if they didn't fight, they wouldn't have to spend so much money. Anlan thought about it. Actually, this matter had indeed started because of her. If she went to beg for mercy and apologize, it might be over. Thus, after Anlan went out, she didn't go anywhere else but to Country C. After Lin Che returned home with Gu Jingza, Lin Che was unhappy for a few days. Seeing this, Gu Jingza came back to tease Lin Che. Let's go out for a walk. Don't stay in the house all the time. Lin Che said, Ugh, I don't want to move. Don't want to move? I'll carry you out, Gu Jingza said. He really wanted to turn over and carry her. No, I don't want to go out. Hearing this, Gu Jingza lowered his head and was about to take off her clothes. Then exercise at home. I was wrong. I'll go out, okay? Lin Che really couldn't do anything to him. Therefore, she could only put down the things in her hands and said to Gu Jingza, well, let's not go too far. Can I bring the 2 kids to Sea World to play? Take the child out to play. Lin Che thought about it. It had indeed been a long time since he had taken a child out. So she nodded and went out to prepare. Gu Shiwan and Gu Shinian knew that Lin Che was in a bad mood, so they behaved very obediently. He had been waiting for Lin Che outside for a long time. When Lin Che saw the 2 little angels, it was as if a ray of light had been injected into his gloomy heart. You're so good. Come, give Mommy a kiss. Gu Shiwan immediately came over obediently. Although Gu Shinian was unwilling, he thought that his mother was in a bad mood today, so he followed and kissed her on the cheek. Lin Che felt very satisfied. Then, he took the 2 children and went out together. Gu Jingza also followed behind. The family of 4 strolled around the ocean world together, taking a look at the marine life that was resting in peace. Gu Shinian brought Gu Shiwan with him, so Lin Che didn't have to worry at all. Gu Shiwan would give them 100,000 questions. Children at this age all loved to ask questions. Other parents would be very frustrated that they couldn't answer their children's questions. However, with Gu Shinian around, this task was completely handed over to him. Gu Shiwan kept asking, Brother, what kind of fish is this? Swordfish. What about this? Crowfish. Brother, this looks good. This is a jellyfish. Brother, this looks good too. This is... Gu Shinian kept answering, and Lin Che was very satisfied. He felt very proud to have such a smart son. On the other hand, the 2 adults could watch from back. When they came out, Gu Shiwan held Lin Che's little hand and asked, Mommy, are you in a bad mood? Lin Che said, Yeah, who told you? Brother told me. All right, Gu Shiwan said. Then, what should I do to make you feel better? Lin Che smiled. I don't know. What do you think you should do to make me feel better? How about we make something delicious for Mommy? Lin Che's eyes lit up when he heard this. Really? However, looking at this little child, Lin Che was doubtful. You know how to make it? Gu Shiwan said, I don't, but brother knows. She even said that. Gu Shiwan was really too dependent on her brother. Moreover, in her heart, Gu Shinian was obviously omnipotent. Gu Shinian paused. Gu Shiwan held his hand and shook it. Okay, brother, can we? Look, Mommy is not happy. Brother, let's make something delicious. He could make something delicious to coax Mommy. However, Gu Shinian felt that it wouldn't be them who made delicious food. In the end, it would be him who made delicious food. Then, Gu Shiwan would eat with them. However, looking at his mother and then at Gu Shiwan, Gu Shinian could only nod. Forget it. Men had to give in to women. Lin Che saw that Gu Shinian, who had always been otherworldly and had no interest in family matters, was actually saying that he would make food for her today. She immediately laughed like a little child. That's great. Then let's go to the supermarket to buy ingredients and cook together. Oh yes, let's not cook at the Gu house. There are so many chefs in the kitchen. What's the point? Let's find another villa to cook. Gu Jingze looked at Gu Shinian sympathetically. Lin Che and Gu Shiwan were really the two children of their family. However, they couldn't do anything about it. Gu Jingze had no choice but to ask someone to prepare a car for him. He drove the kids to the supermarket together. Chapter 1543. The family of four walked into the supermarket and immediately caused a commotion. Wow, Lin Che and Mu Yeli. Lin Che's family of four appeared together. Lin Che looked over, embarrassed. Behind them, the bodyguards quickly stopped them. Lin Che waved at the bodyguards and said to the people behind him, "Sorry, we're taking care of the kids. I hope everyone can take it easy. Just enjoy your shopping and pretend that we're not here." Lin Che's warm smile was very admirable. Looking at the two smart kids standing there like little golden boys, it was indeed a scene that people couldn't bear to disturb. Someone said, "Yeah, they're shopping. Don't disturb them." Although everyone wanted to get close to these celebrities, their sense of civility prevented them from doing so. They watched from afar and took many photos with their phones. But if Lin Che and the others didn't bother, they would let it go. Gu Jingze looked over there and smiled. He pushed a small trolley, and Gu Shiwan quickly climbed onto it. The chubby little legs drooped for a long time, making people laugh. Gu Jingze gently carried the child onto the trolley and continued to push it forward. Gu Shiwan said, "Brother, I want to eat sweet and sour spare ribs." Gu Shinian was speechless. "No, then I want to eat shrimp." "No, then I want to eat." Gu Shinian turned around and said, "Didn't you say you're going to cook for Mom? What are you going to eat?" Gu Shiwan smacked her lips and said unwillingly, "Okay." Lin Che found it even more funny. Gu Jingze said, "Let's eat together." "Shiwan too." Gu Shiwan's little face lifted. "That's great." "Really?" "Really." Gu Jingze touched her little face. Gu Shiwan giggled. Gu Jingze put his arm around Lin Che's shoulders. Lin Che noticed that the people behind them were still watching and said uncomfortably, "You're so annoying. Stay away from me." Gu Jingze naturally noticed it too and said indifferently, "What's wrong? We're legally married." As Gu Jingze spoke, he leaned forward and kissed her on the cheek. The people behind them cheered. "Ah, he kissed you, he kissed you." "God, it's too warm." Lin Che blushed. She didn't dare to look at the onlookers behind her. She shyly hit Gu Jingze's chest. The way she hit Gu Jingze's chest was so obvious that it warmed the hearts of the onlookers. In front, Gu Shinian could no longer hold it in. These two people, they were showing off their affection again. Shaking his head, he tugged at Gu Shiwan and said, "All right, let's go buy some groceries." Bitter, they really thought that Lin Che would be depressed for a while, but it was obvious that with their father around, he didn't need any other consolation. Is this the so-called love? Lin Che looked at Gu Shinian and said, "You're so small, you probably can't even reach the stove. Why don't we just forget about it?" Gu Shinian turned around and said indifferently, "Mom, have you forgotten that there is a thing called a stool? Standing on a stool to cook? It's too dangerous. There is another thing called an induction cooker. I can use it to fry." Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che with a smile. "In front of Nian Nian, you should stop using your low IQ. Get lost." This father and son pair only knew how to bully her. Gu Shinian really made a few dishes in no time. Although they still looked immature, it was obvious that they were edible. Lin Che ate a few mouthfuls and didn't expect them to taste so good. Oh, why did their Nian Nian always do better than her in everything? As a mother, she was so frustrated. Gu Jingze smiled as he watched Lin Che eat. Without batting an eyelid, he hooked his arm around Lin Che's calf. Lin Che was stunned. She felt his feet nuzzle her, tease her, and burrow under her skirts. This indecent. The two kids were still here, okay? Lin Che didn't want the two kids to know that their father was teasing her, so she glared at Gu Jingze fiercely. However, Gu Jingze was eating seriously with the chopsticks, as if he didn't look at her at all. He was too good at pretending. At this moment, Gu Xiuan saw his mother's expression. "Mom, why aren't you eating? You're glaring at Dad." Gu Jingze looked up and smiled faintly. Lin Che really wanted to hit him. He was so bad. On the other side, Gu Shinian chewed and looked at the two of them, as if he had seen through everything. He shook his head. Really? How old were they? But they were still acting like two kids who had just fallen in love. He felt that falling in love really lowered his IQ. He would never try it again. Outside, because many people had taken pictures of the family of four going to the supermarket, everyone felt that it was really sweet. The four of them looked so intimate. It was really heartwarming. Plus, it was rare for the four of them to appear together. In an instant, they became a hot topic. The family of four is so good-looking. Look at Gu Jingze, such a powerful man, but he dotes on his wife so much. He's shopping with her. He even kissed his wife secretly. Look at Lin Che's expression. It's so funny. And Lan came here illegally and was still thinking of ways to plead with Gu Jingze for Lin Che. Their schedule was easy to see because many media outlets were following them. Basically, everything the family of four did would be in the news. However, it was not easy to get close to them. Lan looked at the big screen. The sweeter it was, the more glaring it was. It made people feel disgusted, angry, and uncomfortable. Her family had been harmed to such a state, and her uncles had used up all her money to buy things. She had spent a lot of effort to smuggle herself over. Those friends who had looked up to her in the past, now she had to kneel and beg them. They only gave her a little help and humiliated her endlessly. All of this made her feel very uncomfortable. Compared to this family of four, how could she feel at ease? The people in the bar looked at Lan. The young mistress of the family in the past seemed to be in dire straits. They thought of how arrogant Lan used to be in the past, and how she was not nice at all. Now, they were even more happy to see her in such a down-and-out state. "Who do you want to see? Lin Che?" The man snorted, looking very arrogant. And Lan had seen so much that she was already a little numb. Although his heart was filled with hatred, he no longer had that arrogance on his face. "Yes, can you do me a favor? You must know that their security is top-notch. It's impossible for ordinary people like us to get close. You must have a way, right? I'm not doing anything else. I'm just going to say a few words. If you can't, just say that you are in Lan. They might want to see you." And Lan's body tensed up. No, if they catch me. How could she have a good ending? Chapter 1544. You need to find a safe place where I can see Lin Che, and where I can escape safely. Sigh, you're really troublesome. Don't you see that Lin Che is not someone you can see whenever you want to? I'm begging you. After it's done, I can give you all my money. Hee, how much money do you have? The man looked at Lan disdainfully. And Lan's body trembled. Hey, get this straight. A skinny camel is still bigger than a horse. No matter how poor I am, I have more money than ordinary people. How can I believe you? Show me. And Lan blushed. She really didn't have it now. You don't have it? The man looked at Lan in disbelief. How can I not have it? I really do have it, but... She thought for a moment and said, but why should I show it to you? So what if I show it to you? Anyway, if you help me, I will definitely give it to you. Otherwise, I will be right here. If I don't give you the money, you can just hand me over to Gu Jingze. He looked at Lan. The high and mighty young mistress of the family had finally had this day. He walked over with a smile. Okay, you're right. But you can choose not to look at the money. You have to pay a deposit first, right? Deposit? And Lan looked at his strange gaze and felt that something was wrong. The next moment, she was pressed onto the table by the man. What are you doing? The man slapped Lan's face. Scream, scream. The louder you scream, the more I like it. You what you? Do you really think you're still that arrogant and despotic Miss Anlin that no one could control? You're just a wild chicken now. Behave and let me feel good. I'll help you see Lin Che. Otherwise, do you think you can see Lin Che? Never in this lifetime. And Lan looked at the man in front of her in humiliation. When had she ever suffered this kind of hardship before? However, she could only grit her teeth and bear it. She vented all her anger on Lin Che. If it wasn't for Lin Che and Gu Jingze, the next day, Lin Che and Yu Minmin appeared at the company together. No matter how busy they were, they would attend the company's monthly meeting. This month's summary was about the training of some newcomers. Among them, Su Wan, who had just started developing, was on this list. The agent who sent Su Wan was quite capable. She sat inside and said, "We've shown Su Wan a few youth TV series in succession. With her image, it should be very suitable for her to act in these TV series." Okay, then about the lawsuit. The first trial is over and we won. Because they didn't do anything after signing Su Wan can sue them for hiding her and not cultivating her in accordance with the contract. Now they're considering settling it privately. Don't make trouble anymore. That's all. All right. Lin Che sat there. Then, he looked at the box office of Mu Firen's previous movie. It was very dismal. She said, "What's wrong with Sister Firen's movie?" When the people below mentioned this, they all sighed. They looked at each other, not knowing what to say. "Boss Lin, Sister Firen's scripts are not very good recently. She has high expectations, but the final results are not good. Alas, the box office is not good, and the reputation is not good either." The more they spoke, the softer their voices became. The reputation was extremely bad. To begin with, everyone's voices were already very low on domestically produced movies, and now many people said that Mu Firen was simply a box office poison. From a goddess in the past to a box office poison now, everyone was speechless. Needless to say, luck was really important in this industry. Lin Che said, "Is it really that bad?" They sighed. Alas, the movies are all big IPs. Many producers think they will definitely make money. Then, seeing that it's a popular IP, they take it and shoot it. In the end, they think well and shoot something that they're not good at. Those who are good at action movies go to shoot youth movies. Those who are good at small productions go to shoot blockbusters. They don't make a mess. Lin Che frowned speechlessly. But Sister Firen is very happy now, so she doesn't care about these things anymore. She chooses movies based on her mood. Now, this month, someone said that Sister Firen is out of luck, so they don't want to ask her to make movies for the time being. Yes, they are too much. They said that they can't be implicated by Sister Firen. Look at the directors and scriptwriters they hired. What are they doing? They are blaming Sister Firen. Besides, they're not good enough. They're not professional, but they insist on taking charge. Lin Che covered his forehead. What should he do? On the other side, Mu Firen knew about this. Her agent was so anxious that she was hesitating to call someone. Sister Firen has been acting like a diva for so many years, but she was delayed by those movies. Our acting is at the level of an Academy Award. Alas, we know that. But really, our boss said that we should find some films with good box office and good reputation. If we can't find any, we should find some fresh meat. With Sister Firen's reputation, we can't reduce the remuneration. The agent said angrily. She hung up the phone and saw that Mu Firen had heard everything. She said angrily, "Sister Firen, these people," Mu Firen sighed. "Forget it. They have their own considerations." Their considerations were right. At her level, she couldn't reduce the remuneration, so her price-performance ratio was definitely not as good as those fresh meat and actresses. She said, "If there are no movies, I'll just take it as a rest." The agent could only sigh, thinking that since Mu Firen was not anxious, she couldn't be anxious either. While Mu Firen was resting, Haiying found it strange. Mu Firen had always been a model worker, so it was impossible that she didn't have 1 or 2 movies in a year. Therefore, he asked Mu Firen's agent directly, "Firen, what's going on?" The agent didn't dare to lie in front of Haiying. "Sister Firen has not been well recently," she complained. "Now some people say that Sister Firen is a has-been diva. I'm so angry." "Very good," Haiying said angrily. "Ha! I like to see who dares to tell me that I don't want Firen to act. What was Mr. Imo doing? He wouldn't cause any trouble, would he?" Chapter 1545. The next day, the agent immediately received a call from the director. Well, we would like to invite Miss Mu to act in our new drama. Shall we send you the script? It's a big production. The agent was pleasantly surprised. Is that so? Sure, send us the script first. Soon, a TV drama company sent an invitation letter, hoping that Firen would play the leading female role. Then a web drama company called, hoping that Firen would go and read the script. The agent was stunned. So many people had come to her. The agent hurried to tell Mu Firen. Mu Firen was also surprised. Aren't you afraid that I'll be poisoned by the box office? Anyway, we'll go and have a look first. We'll choose carefully and only participate if there's a good script. Mu Firen didn't care anyway, so she went to the company in the afternoon to read the scripts. The scripts that were sent to her were quite good. Mu Firen didn't see any particularly good ones. She had her own preferences when choosing films. For example, she wanted to challenge characters that she had never challenged before. Sometimes, it was good to be a bad guy. But since she was going to play the leading role, there wouldn't be many bad guys. Just then, Mu Firen saw a character. She was supposed to be the second female lead in the script. Although she had a lot of scenes, she did well at the beginning. Then she turned evil and fought with the male lead. In the end, the first female lead was with the male lead, and the second female lead sacrificed herself in a sea of fire. Mu Firen liked the character in the script very much. She took the script and told the agent. The agent looked at it and said worriedly, "She's the second female lead." Mu Firen said, "I think she has a lot of scenes." The manager said, "I'm just afraid that if the role is placed at the end, during the publicity, you won't be the female lead. I'm afraid that when the time comes, everyone will say that you've lowered yourself to be the second female lead because the box office isn't good." Mu Firen knew that nowadays, there were many people who wanted to make a fool of themselves. But looking at this role, she felt that it was so rare. Mu Firen thought for a while and said, "But I still want to play it." Seeing her agent's worried face, she went over to shake her agent's arm and said, "All right, Xiao Man, it's just a role anyway. It's not like you won't be able to get other roles in the future if you accept this one. Anyway, I think it's better if you take on a little challenge. Previously, you insisted on playing the female lead, which is why those scripts weren't suitable at all." Xiao Man didn't dare to let Mu Firen beg her like this. She quickly begged for mercy and said, Okay, we'll act, okay?" She handed the script to the director and told him that she wanted to be the second female lead. The director took a look and immediately agreed. After all, it was not easy to find someone to play this role. If I don't find a big shot, my acting skills won't be enough. Find a big shot. Not many big shots are willing to do it. He had wanted Mu Firen to be the female lead, but unexpectedly, Mu Firen said that she wanted to be the second female lead. He had solved a huge problem for them. Mu Firen immediately went to the other company to talk about the script. When they arrived, many people were surprised to learn that Mu Firen was going to be the supporting actress of this TV series. How dare the director let Mu Firen play this role? Yeah, didn't they say that she's poison in the box office? Some people were watching the show, and naturally, there was a hint of mockery in their tone. Seeing the fall of a superstar seemed to be something that they were very happy about. Although it had nothing to do with them, they couldn't understand why they felt a sense of superiority. At this moment, someone who knew the truth snorted and looked at these ignorant losers. Want to see Mu Firen fall? Even if she fell, she was still better than them. Didn't they see who was backing Mu Firen? All right, you guys. Do you think that she won't be able to act anymore just because she's poison in the box office? Those who knew the truth walked over and said, "She has a lot of drama." Why? Why does she have a lot of drama? The people next to them hurriedly went over and asked. He said profoundly, "Why don't you see who's backing Mu Firen?" Who? Imogen and Haiying? Yeah. Everyone sighed. Even if all her films don't have a box office and she gets scolded every time, who would dare to look down on her? With just one sentence from Haiying, there's still a lot of people looking for her. Don't be afraid when she doesn't have a show anymore. Hearing this, everyone talked about Haiying's dominance and Mu Firen's good luck. One by one, they could only leave. Mu Firen quickly finished discussing the details of the role with the people inside and was ready to sign the contract. When she came out, Mu Firen was still mumbling, "Not bad. I thought these people were going to hit me when I'm down. I didn't expect them to be so friendly to me." Her agent sighed silently. She pitied them. She didn't know what He-Ying had done to scare them, but they were so obedient today. However, Almighty He-Ying was really great. With Almighty He-Ying around, she didn't have to worry about anyone bullying Mu Firen. Lin Che heard that Mu Firen had chosen her script. She was eating with He-Ying. She looked at him and said, "Did you contribute to Firen's script?" He-Ying said, "These people don't know whose woman she is. How dare they say that she's poison in the box office? I've already asked people to delete such comments." Lin Che said speechlessly, "You're really protective of her." Of course, Lin Che wanted to persuade him to be less domineering. But thinking about it, it wasn't a bad thing to be domineering sometimes. At least, no one would dare to bully Mu Firen. Lin Che ate the last mouthful of foie gras and said to him, "I'm going to see Min Min. She's about to give birth, and her stomach isn't very good. Besides, the president's mansion is very nervous every day because of the war. I'm worried that she'll be upset." Lin Che called out to Dongzi and left with his bodyguards. Soon, they arrived at a shopping mall, and Lin Che got out of the car to buy coffee. After eating the greasy steak, he hoped to buy some coffee to make himself feel less greasy. When they sat down in the cafe, Dongzi saw the people outside, signaling to him that there was something wrong with the car. He asked them to watch Lin Che first, and then went out to deal with it. Lin Che looked outside with his chin in his hand, and the people inside were looking at Lin Che at this moment. That's great. This was probably the time when she had the least people around her. Lan could still feel the pain in her lower body. In the past few days, she had found many opportunities to get close to Lin Che, but she couldn't find one. And those damn guys took advantage of this opportunity to play with her every day, saying that they wanted interest. Now, she finally got the chance. She hurriedly walked over and approached him with a coffee plate. Putting down the coffee, Lin Che said, "Thank you." She looked up and saw Lan at first glance. Chapter 1546. Lin Che did not expect to see Lan here. Lan, wasn't her family in Africa at war with the Elder State? If so, why didn't Lan still dare to appear in Country C? Lin Che looked at Lan. "You?" Although Lan looked down on Lin Che, she heaved a sigh of relief when she finally saw him. "Lin Che, you don't have to call for help. I'm not here to make things difficult for you. I'm here because I have something to say to you." Lan said anxiously. Lin Che looked outside. Knowing that they were all outside and could come in at any time, he sat there calmly and stared at Lan warily. "What do you want to say?" "Now, the Elder State is at war with Country C. Actually, this is completely unnecessary. Because of the conflict between our two families, it has escalated to a war between two countries. Don't you think it's a little too scary? A little too exaggerated?" Lin Che also knew that this was an exaggeration. It was very scary. In the past, she had never thought that she would witness such a war happening around her because of someone she was familiar with. But this was not something she could control. She did not understand. Nor would she make decisions for Gujingza. Seeing that Lin Che did not speak, Lan said anxiously, "In the beginning, it was just because of the problem between me and Gujingza, but it became so big. Why must it be like this?" Lin Che looked at her and still did not speak. This made Lan feel very scared. In the past, she had never thought that Lin Che was a scary person. But seeing her again, for the first time, she felt that this woman was becoming more and more powerful. She was no longer the woman that she had thought she was. A woman who could be easily deceived, a simple actress, or a very stupid woman. When she looked at her with narrowed eyes, she looked so unfathomable. No, it must be because she was no longer the arrogant young mistress of the Yin family. That was why she felt guilty when she saw someone else. After all, she was here to ask for help. "Lin Che, can you say something? The war outside is because of you. Can you bear to see so many people die because of you?" Lin Che burst out laughing. I really can't afford to wear this hat on my head. Unlan, this matter was started by your family in the first place. If you didn't want to fight to the death and escape to Africa, it wouldn't be like this now. Unlan gritted her teeth and looked at Lin Che. Although she was unwilling, she was Gu Jingze's only weakness. It was almost impossible to persuade Gu Jingze, unless it was Lin Che. Therefore, Unlan could only lower his stance. All right, Lin Che, I'm begging you. We really don't want to go to war. At that time, I was thinking about Gu Jingze, but I didn't succeed in the end, right? You can't abandon the entire country just because of that, right? Lin Che sneered. All right, isn't retreating the best show of sincerity? If you really want to end this matter, then show us your best sincerity. Perhaps we might consider it. Why don't we just forget it? Lin Che was about to get up. Unlan anxiously wanted to stop him. If it was up to her to decide whether to retreat or not, that would be great. She just wanted to continue living a carefree life as the eldest daughter of the family. She didn't want to go to war at all. She hurried to stop Lin Che. Lin Che, listen to me. However, at this moment, the people outside seemed to have noticed that something was wrong here. Unlan knew that she couldn't be caught, so she hurriedly stamped her feet in frustration and ran out. Outside, Dongzi rushed in. Miss, Lin Che narrowed his eyes and didn't ask Dongzi to stop her. Let her go. But miss, since she dared to come alone, I'm afraid that someone outside is helping her. Let her go. Don't take risks, Lin Che said. Dongzi thought about it and agreed. Miss thought too much. Lin Che looked outside. Ask someone to investigate. Since she dared to come, she must be prepared. Find out who is helping her and who is helping her. Yes, Mississippi. Dongzi quickly went to do it. In the afternoon, Unlan wanted to prepare to leave Sea Country. However, outside, a group of people suddenly appeared in this underground bar. This bar had existed for more than 10 years and was considered to have some power in B City. The power of the underworld was like this. Although it would always be attacked, it would always be revived. The people in the bar saw the Gu family's bodyguards rush in, and the leader immediately cursed in his heart. Damn it. It went without saying who came to the door. Lin Che walked in with Dongzi following him. A group of bodyguards had already surrounded the place. The people inside squatted on the ground and didn't dare to look up. The leader saw Lin Che come in and said hurriedly, Mrs. Gu, we don't interfere with each other's business and we don't do anything bad. I don't know why you let so many people come to my bar. Lin Che glanced at the bar, which wasn't big. It looked very ordinary, but who would have thought that he would jump in fright when he did a check? The owner of this bar had a very long reach. He actually knew her itinerary. She smiled. Where's Unlan? The leader's eyes moved, and he still played dumb. Mrs. Gu, you must have mistaken me for someone else. I don't know. Dongzi pointed his gun at him. The leader couldn't speak anymore and quickly knelt on the ground. Don't be like this. Why are you so violent? It's not good to kill people in B City. Lin Che smiled. Are you suspecting that I don't dare to do it? His words made the leader feel cold all over. I mean, she is inside. Lin Che thought to himself that this was indeed effective. She wouldn't kill people easily, but it had to be said that this method was still useful. Dongzi, ask someone to go in and look for her. Don't touch anyone here. Unlan was frightened and ran for his life. Lin Che felt that the existence of this place really affected her safety. So he waved his hand and asked someone to find a way to deal with it. The so-called deal was not to kill all of them, but to let them completely leave B City. If their organization was disrupted, they would collapse on their own. Unlan ran desperately. She didn't expect that Lin Che would actually turn around and come to her without any care. She saw at a glance that Lin Che's lackey had already followed behind her. This person was called Dongzi. She still remembered him. She cursed in her heart. Damn Lin Che's dog. Dongzi soon saw Unlan. Unlan was scared out of her wits. You can't touch me. If you dare to touch me, I'll kill myself. By then, the family will not let you off. Unlan couldn't care about her image anymore. She lay on the ground and rolled around. Her thighs in the basement were all exposed. At the side, there were people who didn't know what was going on and were looking at this strange woman. No one would associate her with the socialite of the family. Chapter 1547. Lin Che looked at Enlon and said to Dongzi, "Don't kill her. Bring her alive and follow me to see Gu Jingze." Yes, Mississippi. Enlon was grabbed, and a few people pressed down on her messy hair to stop her from moving. Her face was covered by her hair, as she looked like a Sadako. She shouted at Lin Che, "Lin Che, you'll die a horrible death. Don't think that I'm afraid of you. I'm not afraid of anything except you." Lin Che smiled. "You're the one who's going to die. I might die a horrible death, but I'm definitely going to die after you." Lin Che couldn't be bothered to look at her anymore. He waved his hand and asked someone to take her away. Then he turned around and left. And Lon screamed like a pig being slaughtered as she was dragged to Gu Jingze's side. "Sir, Madam asked us to bring her here to be dealt with." Gu Jingze looked at Enlon and smiled. Ew. Enlan's screams finally stopped. Looking at Gu Jingze, she pushed the people around her away and crawled forward. "I was wrong. I was wrong. I risked my life to come here to beg you to let me go. I was still young and didn't know any better. That's why I did so many wrong things. But what happened in Africa had nothing to do with me. I never thought of starting a war." Gu Jingze couldn't be bothered to look at her. He just watched Lin Che walk in from outside. He immediately arrived in front of Lin Che. "She is," Lin Che said. "She came looking for me." Gu Jingze said, "You caught her. It was very easy to catch her." "No, it was easy for her now. In the past, Lin Che didn't know anything and didn't know how to make decisions. Now, Lin Che knew how to command an army. Actually, his Xiao Che was very smart." He smiled dotingly and proudly. As for Enlon, she looked at the two of them. For a moment, she felt as if she had become a worthless prey in their eyes. Her eyes were red with anger as she glared at the two of them. However, Gu Jingze had never looked at her from the beginning to the end. Gu Jingze just pulled Lin Che out. "Leave the rest to me. Tell me, you've done such a big thing. What reward do you need?" Lin Che raised his head and looked at him. "Is it very big?" Gu Jingze pinched her nose. "This is the smartest decision you've ever made. Have you used up all your brain cells? Why don't we eat some pig's brain? Get lost." Lin Che leaned against him and seemed to have thought of something. He tugged at his shirt with both hands and inched closer to her. "Wasn't the smartest decision I've made to date the one where I drugged you and made you mine?" She softly hit his chest with her chest, making his heart warm all of a sudden. He hugged her tightly and kissed her lips. In front of everyone, he kissed her messily. Seriously, Lin Che wiped his mouth forcefully before glaring at him fiercely. On the other side, a servant came to inform them that Yu Minmin was asking why she hadn't gone yet. Yu Minmin was very annoyed. Lin Che said, "Then you deal with Enlan's matter first. I'll go to the president's residence first." How should he deal with Enlan? Actually, when he saw Enlan, he had already thought it through. Since she was here, she could forget about going back safely. Gu Jingze walked back and looked at Enlan, whose face was full of anger. He smiled. "You might have to suffer a little." Enlan looked fearfully at the man who made people feel cold when he smiled. What are you doing?" Gu Jingze said directly. "Break one of her fingers." "What?" Enlan screamed. However, before he could react to what he was about to do, a finger, stained with blood, fell to the ground. Enlan screamed. Gu Jingze looked at the finger and ordered, "Send this to the family and ask them if they still want this daughter of theirs. If they want her, they'd better behave." Yes, on the other side, Lin Che quickly arrived at Yu Minmin's place. He saw that Yu Minmin was already sweating profusely. "Minmin, what's wrong?" Lin Che ran over hurriedly. Yu Minmin grabbed Lin Che and said, "I think I'm going to give birth." "Ah, why didn't you say so earlier?" Lin Che was shocked. Yu Minmin held her tightly. "Don't tell Jingming. He's at the front line. If he knows about this, he'll definitely be distracted. The front line is so dangerous. I can't let him be distracted. I'll give birth myself. It's not my first child anyway, so it's not a big deal." Lin Che looked at her deeply. However, seeing Yu Minmin's anxious expression, she could only nod and agree. "I'll arrange a doctor for you." She wouldn't be at ease if she didn't ask a trusted doctor to do this kind of thing. Lin Che immediately asked someone to find Chen Yuqing. Chen Yuqing didn't dare to delay. He didn't know much about this area, so he asked a trusted obstetrician to help him arrange the delivery room and everything else. He waited outside. Lin Che bit his finger and looked at the lights in the room. He was very worried. "All right, it'll be fine if she gives birth," Lin Che said. "I'm worried that her worries will affect her health." Chun Yuqing said, "I should be the one who has a lot on my mind right now." "What's wrong with you?" "The president's wife is giving birth to a child. You actually asked me to do it." "Seriously, if there's a problem, I'll be scolded to death by the whole nation." "All right, Dr. Chun, with you around, how can there be a problem?" Lin Che looked at him with a dry smile. He knew that he really wanted to help. That was why he dared to accept such a child. Live. However, he thought that they would just give birth in silence. At the front line, Gu Jingming sat in the conference hall and received the news. Someone outside said, "Sir, what's wrong?" "Mr. President, there's a rumor outside that Madam is giving birth at home. I don't know if it's true or not." Gu Jingming paused. He put down the analysis report in his hand and stood up in front of all the generals of country C. "What's going on? Why didn't anyone tell me?" "Madam probably doesn't want you to be distracted." Everyone was curious. If that was the case, then who deliberately released this news? Now, their Mr. President was very distracted. As a result, the discussion of national affairs just now had to stop for a moment. Everyone looked at Gu Jingming, wanting to continue discussing the things that had to be decided today. Should they continue to fight, or should they listen to the other party's conditions? Whether they could make a decision today meant that the international community's view of them would change. However, their Mr. President obviously couldn't think anymore. Chapter 1548. Yu Minmin's delivery went smoothly. An hour later, the sound of the baby crying could be heard. Lin Che heaved a sigh of relief. He looked inside to see how Yu Minmin was doing. After a while, the doctor came out. "Dr. Chun, Mrs. Gu, don't worry. Both mother and child are safe. The baby is 6 pounds, and it's a boy." The doctor wiped off his sweat. It had to be known that helping the president's wife deliver the baby was a very exhausting task. Now that it was done, he heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Che hurriedly ran in and saw Yu Minmin lying there with her newborn child in her arms. Her face was haggard, as if she had sweated all her life's worth in an instant. Her entire body was drenched, but there was a satisfied smile on her lips as she looked at her child. Seeing Lin Che come in, she hugged him. "Thank goodness it's done. I really thought I wouldn't be able to control myself. Okay, it's fine now." Lin Che hugged her and looked at the baby. She smiled. The baby really looks like his father. Yu Minmin lowered his head to look at it and smiled in relief. Then Minmin. Gu Jingming walked over and looked at Yu Minmin worriedly. Yu Minmin was stunned. "Jingming," he said, "Minmin, why didn't you tell me about such a big thing? Your body." He came to Yu Minmin's side in a few steps. Lin Che hurriedly stood up tactfully and gave the space to Gu Jingming. Gu Jingming looked down at the baby and then at Yu Minmin. Yu Minmin felt a lump in her throat. "Why are you here? How could I not be here? I didn't allow them to tell you." "Silly. If you didn't tell me about such a thing, am I still a man? But if I can't be a man at home, what right do I have to govern the country?" Yu Minmin felt even more bitter. She felt that she was a burden to him and couldn't do anything. Gu Jingming hugged her and looked down at the baby. Our child, seeing the family of 3 hugging each other, Lin Che felt extremely touched. She walked out quietly and left the room to the 2 of them. When she reached the door, she saw Gu Jingze rushing over with a sullen face. "What happened?" Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze strangely. Gu Jingze supported Lin Che calmly. After Big Brother got the news, he left all the generals in the room and came back by himself. No wonder Yu Minmin didn't want to tell Gu Jingming. Looking at Gu Jingze's expression, it seemed that the matter was very serious. Gu Jingze said, "Did Yu Minmin send someone to tell them?" Lin Che shook his head. "Of course not." "Then, since this matter has reached Big Brother's ears, it seems." Gu Jingze lowered his head and pinched his chin, lost in thought. Lin Che's eyes darted around. "So you're saying that someone intentionally told Big Brother about this?" Although Gu Jingze didn't speak, he looked at her as if he had agreed with her. Lin Che said, then could it be that we have a traitor by our side? Thinking of this, Lin Shay had already gone through everything in his mind. Among the people around her, there was no one she could imagine would betray her. Dongzi and the others had gone through fire and water with her. How could they do such a thing? However, Gu Jingze was right. Only a few people knew about this matter. The doctors and nurses were all Chen Yuqing's people. If it was his people who leaked it, then there must be something wrong with him. Gu Jingze said, "We have to be more careful in the future. I think it's most likely the doctors and nurses on Chen Yuqing's side. But if it's not them, it will wrongly accuse an innocent person. I hope we can find evidence. I will investigate them one by one," Gu Jingze said. Lin Shay felt gloomy around her. She was a little worried about the people around her. No matter who it was, she couldn't accept it. Outside, the news of Yu Minmin's birth had just been reported. Before anyone could say their blessings, someone was already talking about it. For the sake of the president's wife's birth, Gu Jingming put aside a lot of military exercises and rushed home. Some people thought it was very romantic. Mr. President loves his wife so much. I'm really envious of his wife. Mr. President is a role model for all men. Mr. President is so loving. Mr. President is so kind. However, some people didn't think so. Some people started to stir up trouble on the internet. They talked about how Mr. President suddenly left a room full of generals and commanders during the military operation. Mr. President should first think about this country. There's a country before there is a home. In front of the country, everyone is a small matter. Such a big matter can't even be compared to a small matter in his family. I feel sad for this country. We think we need to ask, if the president's wife is a big matter, what about us? Suddenly, everyone started to ask questions. A wave of questions about whether Mr. President was qualified to be their leader was brought up. Yu Minmin was raising the child at home. Before the baby was a month old, there were already rich ladies coming to visit. Before they entered the house, they met at the door and talked to each other. I heard that this matter is very serious. I don't know what secret Madam has to make Mr. President like her so much. She's beautiful, but she's not the most beautiful. She's gentle, but she's not necessarily gentle. Didn't you say that it's because she has a good relationship with another Mrs. Gu? Are you talking about Gu Jingze's family? Yes. Now it seems so. Anyway, if the one of my family is half as good to me as she is to me, I will be dead set on her. It's good, but what's the use of only being good to her, regardless of her career? Now, Mr. President has been scolded because of her ignorance. The point is, it's not the first time. They were all a little worried. After all, they were all on Gu Jingming's side, relying on the current Gu family to survive. But if there was something wrong with Gu Jingming, they were worried that, after entering the door, some people looked at the child and complimented him. These days, Yu Minmin was used to everyone's compliments, so she smiled perfunctorily. Seeing that everyone was done, she handed the child to the wet nurse and asked her to take him in to rest. They looked at Yu Minmin. Look, everyone is saying that they are so envious of Madam. Yes, they all say that Madam is really lucky to have Mr. President love her so much. Yu Minmin drank the tonic soup and looked at the people who seemed to be hesitating for a long time, as if they wanted to say something. Just say what you want to say. Hearing Yu Minmin's words, they looked at each other and said to Yu Minmin, "But we are doing this for Madam's own good. After being with Madam for so long, we are like sisters." Chapter 1549. She was his sister, so there was no need to say such things. Yu Minmin leaned against the wall and said, "Just say it. We all know that Mr. President loves you. But if he does too much for you, the people will think that he cares too much about his family, and it won't be good for you. Yes, there are already people outside saying that Mr. President has thrown a group of military ministers in the conference room for you. This doesn't sound good." Yu Minmin closed her eyes. But at this moment, the door opened and Gu Jingming walked to the front quietly. The group of women were startled, because the moment Gu Jingming walked in, the temperature seemed to have dropped a lot. The whole room was filled with an inexplicable sense of panic. Yu Minmin wanted to get up. She was still in confinement, and her body was still a little weak. Although she had eaten a lot of tonics, and her body was a little round, she would still sweat when she walked. Gu Jingming hurriedly walked over. He grabbed his wife and hugged her, letting her lean against his chest. Jingming, Gu Jingming looked up and said, "Get out of here." It was just a few words, and his voice wasn't loud at all. The group of women were frightened. From now on, none of you are allowed to see my wife," Gu Jingming said ruthlessly. The people at the side felt the pressure drop even further. Gu Jingming said to the president's bodyguard indifferently, "If any of them refuses to leave, ask them to leave." How could he be so decisive? Every single one of them was a political figure in country C who would be shocked if they made a move. All of them were closely related to Gu Jingming's power. But Gu Jingming was he being too biased towards Yu Minmin? Gu Jingming pressed his forehead against Yu Minmin's. "Minmin, I'm sorry." Yu Minmin's heart skipped a beat and her eyes turned red. "Why are you apologizing to me?" "I'm sorry. I'm always dragging you down." Sometimes, Yu Minmin thought that if her family wasn't so ordinary. Your family was attacked because of me, and you have always been the target of controversy. If it wasn't for me, your life would have been much more peaceful. Now, you have just given birth, and you're being harassed by these scum because of me. At the thought of this, Gu Jingming clenched his fists tightly. It was getting more and more sinister. Gu Jingming held her face and said, "I won't let anyone force you like this again." Yu Minmin felt that with his words, no matter what she did, it was all worth it. Gu Jingming carried Yu Minmin in his arms and put her on the bed. He told the servants to take good care of her. Only then did he look outside, as if he had already made up his mind. Seated in the solemn hall of Glass Palace were all people who could influence the fate of the country. Gu Jingming, who was dressed in a military uniform, stood in the middle. The dark green military uniform looked very neat. There were beautiful yellow tassels on it, making it look mighty and heroic. He looked at everyone and said, "Everyone has worked hard recently. Thank you for the sacrifices you have made for the people, and thank you for cooperating with me. We have defended the dignity and power of Country C together, but now," his voice trailed off a little, and under everyone's surprised gazes, he faintly took out a prepared draft. This was the manuscript he had written himself. "But now, I feel that I can no longer bear the responsibility of this country. For the sake of a better future for Country C, I have decided to resign." The audience was in an uproar. What? Gu Jingming was going to resign? "Sir, this is young master's speech at the meeting just now. Take a look, it's already a mess." Gu Jingze received a report from his subordinate in the study at home. Gu Jingming had decided that after this war, he would officially submit his resignation. Gu Jingze was silent for a moment. "Sir, what should we do now?" Qin Hao looked at him worriedly. Gu Jingze said, "Let's meet Big Brother." The whole family gathered together. There were also some seniors of the Gu family who had been following them all this while. Gu Jingming walked in leisurely. He looked at the group of people and said to them, "I know that my decision surprised you a little. Only the insiders know about it now. I've also given you time to find a new successor of the president." Everyone fell silent. No matter what, the new successor was a little difficult to deal with. "Jingze, I can't." When someone's gaze fell on Gu Jingze immediately denied it. Big Brother doesn't have a stain on him, but he can still be suppressed by the public opinion. "If I go over," Gu Jingze's hands were covered with blood. Although the ordinary people might not know about it and didn't care about it, if he became the president, these things would immediately be dug out by other forces. Then, everyone really couldn't think of anyone who could help. At this moment, Gu Jingyan suddenly said, "Maybe we can find someone to replace him. I have a candidate, but he is still too young. It's not impossible to train him as the successor in the future." "Who?" Every year. Gu Jingyan's words made everyone pause. Too young. The president of Country C was not inherited, but it was a lifetime appointment. Therefore, no one would have any objection to a president starting from a young age. Gu Jingming could succeed as the president after he became an adult. It was okay for him to be the president every year. But everyone looked at Gu Jingze, who had a solemn expression. Gu Jingze said calmly, "I need to think about it." Gu Jingyan said, "Although every year is still young, he is as smart as you. He already has such extraordinary abilities at such a young age." It's obvious that he won't be an ordinary person in the future. You already knew this from the beginning, right? So, you never stopped him from doing so many things secretly. You just hope that he can learn to handle things on his own. I think he will be a suitable candidate. But of course, it still depends on whether he is interested in it or not. Gu Jingzi said, since we want to train him, why not start from a young age? If there is a problem or someone doesn't want to do it, he will still have a choice in the future. You're right. Then, I will leave the training of the successor to you. Gu Jingming felt relaxed and said with a smile, if that's the case, I can rest assured. After they went out, Gu Jingzi looked at Gu Jingming. Big brother, have you really made up your mind? Gu Jingming looked at him leisurely. After so many years, this is the first time I feel so relaxed. He had been in power for too many years, and he had been tightly suppressed. Although he was interested in doing it in the beginning, he found that there were more things that interested him than power and responsibility. That was his family. What he wanted more now was for his family to be safe and comfortable, and for his children and wife to be carefree. Chapter 1550. Having said that, Gu Jingming stood up and walked out without any hesitation. Gu Jingyan looked at him and sighed. She said to Gu Jingzi, what should we do in the future? Gu Jingzi said, since he's so happy, let's do it. Then, let's talk about it in the future. The most important thing now is to find someone to take over, brother. I wonder who can take over temporarily. I'll start looking for someone. Even though the news had not been officially spread, many people inside the country already knew about it. Fortunately, the people of Sealand were very receptive. Moreover, the president did not have many rights. He had more honor and symbolism. However, if the people knew that the most charming president in history had resigned, the president's fans would cry. The people outside just sighed. They did not expect Gu Jingming to be so infatuated. They could not tell that he was so handsome that he gave up the presidency and only wanted his wife and children. However, in general, he was the eldest son of the Gu family. Even if he did not become the president, there were always other things he could do. Everyone was just discussing in private. I thought that if we persuaded him, he would let go of his wife. I didn't expect that after we persuaded him that day, he gave up the presidency and went to be with his wife. It's a relief for Mr. President. It's been so difficult recently. Madam's parents even died because of it. She must be under a lot of pressure. Yes, it's even more enviable to be a pair of wild cranes. Yes, it's also a good thing for Madam. Even if he doesn't become the president, he has enough in his life. He can spend more time with Madam in the future. To be honest, I'm also very envious of Madam. She has such a good husband. For her, she can give up so much. Actually, what do we women want sometimes? Yes, who would have thought that Madam would be so lucky? However, Yu Minmin suddenly moved away from the people around her. Madam, you're still in good health. You can't walk around. A few servants hurried to catch up with Yu Minmin, who was walking forward quickly. Yu Minmin's eyes were red. Get out of my way. Don't worry about me. Madam, get out of my way. Do you hear me? The servants could only move away after being scolded by her. He was worried about her health, but he couldn't disobey orders. Yu Minmin dragged his body and pushed the door open. What she saw was a tall French window. Gu Jingming was standing there with one hand on the wall. Outside was the spot where Glass Palace had the best view. The territory of country sea looked so vast. Yu Minmin's heart ached even more. Jingming, Gu Jingming turned around. His eyes lit up when he saw Yu Minmin. Why are you here? He looked at the servant behind him reproachfully. Yu Minmin said, no, I wanted to come here myself. They won't stop me, but I still want to come. Min, Yu Minmin said, Jingming, why? How can you resign? You've been working for so long. You still have a lot of things to do. Gu Jingming held her hand and said, silly girl, there's only one thing I haven't finished. Yu Minmin paused for a moment. What? To grow old with you. Yu Minmin's heart immediately softened. Gu Jingming pulled her into his arms. The two of them leaned against the chair and looked outside through the French window. Yu Minmin said, we'll leave after you resign, right? Yeah. How long have you been living here? More than 10 years. About 18 years. More or less. Won't you find it hard to adapt? Gu Jingming said. You mean moving out? No. With you guys here, anywhere is home. But I'll get someone to look for a good place that can see the sea but isn't close to it. Isn't it better for our family to live there? Yu Minmin said, but won't you regret it? Gu Jingming said, yes, but I'll regret it more if I let you guys be homeless for the rest of your lives. Yu Minmin was extremely touched. She hugged Gu Jingming tightly. How could she be so lucky to have Gu Jingming treat her like this? She knew how difficult it was for a man to do this. That was the career he had worked hard for half his life, and just like that, he resigned. She kissed his lips and felt her soft heart trembling. She just wanted to use her best self to hug him, to give him protection. From now on, he would no longer be the president. He would only be her husband. So she wanted to love him even more. She wanted to love him with everything she had. She thought of this in her heart, as if it would make her feel better. While the new president was still being selected, Gu Jingming had already started to look for his temporary residence. Because there would be a lot of things to do after his resignation, it was more convenient for them to stay in B City for the time being. Soon, Gu Jingming found a place. Then, he asked everyone to go to their new home for a joyous gathering. Gu Jingze and Lin Che brought the two kids to play. It was just in time for Yu Minmin's son to be 1 month old. The two happy events were celebrated together, and the villa was even more lively. The villa was chosen by Gu Jingming and Yu Minmin together. It was on a mountainside, and it was quiet and fresh at night. It was a little far from the city, but it was less than an hour's drive away. There were servants to buy everything, so there was no shortage of things. The environment was good, and there was a big balcony on the roof. Although it was not as big as Glass Palace, it was still more than 1,000 square meters. There were servants, guards, and a family of 4. They set up a long table in the yard. Seeing Gu Jingming take off his military uniform and put on casual clothes, Lin Che sighed and said to Gu Jingze, maybe it's true. This is the best for Big Brother. Gu Jingze nodded. Yeah. However, Gu Jingze looked at Nian Yan. He had not said that Nian Yan would be groomed to be the next president in the future. Although whether he would become the president or not depended on his luck in the future, he had to start grooming him now. Gu Jingze said, okay, let's go in first. Yu Minmin saw them and smiled. Come in and have a seat. Nian Yan, sure you on, go and get whatever you want to eat. Lin Che said, this place is really nice. Yu Minmin and Gu Jingming looked at each other. Their warm and innocent smiles made others envious. Yeah, it's my greatest happiness to wake up here to the sound of birds chirping every day. In the past, in Glass Palace, they woke up to the sound of birds chirping every day, so it was a little heavy. Chapter 1551. Gu Jingming walked over. Oh yeah, I'm going to hold a wedding for Min Min. Yu Minmin turned around in surprise. What did you say? Gu Jingming looked at her with a smile. What's wrong? Can't we hold a wedding? Of course not. Our child is already so big. How can we? Gu Jingming stroked her hair and said gently, the previous wedding doesn't count. This time, we'll hold a better one. The previous wedding was the world-famous wedding of the century. How could it not count? Gu Jingming continued. Last time, none of us paid attention to it. Really? You didn't care? Yu Minmin pouted. Gu Jingming knew he was wrong. His wife had been acting coquettishly recently. However, after moving here, Yu Minmin had become better at acting coquettishly. It was something that would never happen to her. Because Yu Minmin had been too independent since she was young, she had never shown weakness. But now, she trusted and relied on him more and more. Gu Jingming hugged Yu Minmin. All right, I'm sad that you didn't care about me at all. When you got married, did you ever think that it was our wedding? Well, she really hadn't thought about it. Yu Minmin only felt that she was a tool that was being used, so she was very resistant to him. But later on, the two of them slowly got along. Actually, they didn't do anything earth-shattering. They didn't fight with each other every day like Gu Jingze and Lin Che. But as they looked at each other, lived together, and looked at each other every day, she slowly felt that he wasn't the kind of person who worked hard for power like she thought. Actually, if he wasn't the president, he could still do whatever he wanted in life. But he still did the same thing every day. Meetings, interviews, all kinds of etiquette programs, all kinds of appearances, signing all kinds of documents, and he had to lead by example. Any dark spots will be magnified infinitely. So he had to be careful. It was so uncomfortable to live in shackles. For the first time, Yu Minmin felt that being the president wasn't easy. First, it was the unimaginable self-discipline. Ordinary people couldn't do it. Moreover, Gu Jingming was very strict with himself. He had to be a good president, speak for the people, plan the overall situation, and not let his subjects and people suffer any grievances. Yu Minmin couldn't help but start to take care of his life. Although he had so many dietary experts around him, they were only concerned about his safety and nutrition. They wouldn't ask about his preferences. It was as if he was eating for the sake of survival, not for the sake of living. The people of Glass Palace watched as Yu Minmin prepared dinner for the president. After all, she was the president's wife, so they could only listen to her. While ensuring that it was safe and reasonable, he didn't care about anything else. Yu Minmin kept it a secret and didn't tell Gu Jingming about it. However, gradually, Gu Jingming found out about it. Of course, he could feel any changes in the food he ate. At the beginning, she had no expectations for every meal, but now she was full of expectations. There might be something he likes to eat today. There might be something he wanted to eat the next day. She could easily read his mind. The weather was cold. He wanted to eat some hot soup. The weather was hot. He wanted to eat some cold dishes. These were all things that the dietary experts who spoke based on data had never paid attention to. Their lives seemed to be built up bit by bit. Now, so many years had passed. Although they didn't have much passion, they had already become each other. Gu Jingming held her hand and said, "So, it wasn't a real wedding that time. I will hold another one for you." Yu Minmin didn't know what to say for a moment. She just felt so touched. She lowered her head and acquiesced. Gu Jingming said, "The key is," he looked at Gu Jingze and said, "Some people didn't give any money back then. Now we had to find a chance to get it back." Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze and said, "You didn't give any money back then?" Yu Minmin remembered and said, "Yes, we didn't take any money back then." Gu Jingze said, "Because I can't take money back then." That's right. The dignified president received so much money for his wedding. People would definitely care if they saw it. Gu Jingze said, "So, I'm going to take it back this time." Yu Minmin said unhappily, "Humph, that's why you said that the wedding was just to coax me and that you didn't take any money back. That's the real deal." "How could that be?" Gu Jingze said, "You're still the first. The money is just a matter of convenience. How about you don't take it?" Hearing this, Yu Minmin said hurriedly, "No, you're not the president now. You don't have any legitimate income. You need money now." Of course, this was not right. As a member of the Gu family, he had a lot of companies with dividends waiting to give him money. But they definitely weren't as rich as Gu Jingze. After all, they focused on different things. Gu Jingming nodded and said, "Yes. I heard that the next president of America all publishes books to make money. I want to publish a book to make money too." Lin Che said, "Really? Oh, I think you can publish a photo. The people who buy it must be crazy." Photo? How could a president publish a photo? But Gu Jingming was the president with the most fans in the history of Country C. He was also the most handsome president. There were so many fans out there. If they saw his photo, they would definitely go crazy. Yu Minmin said, "No, my husband. Why should I show it to others?" Lin Che curled his lips and said, "See, you're just reluctant. Who said that you need money?" Gu Jingze said, "I don't need it. Jingze can just give me more money." Gu Jingze held his forehead and said, Okay. How much money do you want?" Gu Jingming said, "How can I ask for money? Tell me how much you can give me." 1 million. Gu Jingming said, "Forget it. I'll ask for it. Give me that villa by the lake as a gift." Lin Che was curious. "Which villa?" Gu Jingming said, "The one where he takes you on vacation when he's free. The scenery is great." "Ah, that doesn't seem to be very big." Lin Che said, "Okay." Gu Jingming smiled and said, "Look, your wife agreed." Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che and said, "You're really generous." Lin Che said, "It looks like it's only a few million, right?" Gu Jingming laughed and said, "Someone offered 200 million and Jingze didn't sell it well." Lin Che was speechless. Why? Gu Jingze looked at his silly wife and said, "That villa is small, but the whole lake belongs to that villa. Didn't you notice that there's no one around? It was all his land." Chapter 1552. Gu Jingming smiled. "It's too late to regret it now. Remember to pack up the property rights for me when the time comes." Lin Che was speechless. His brother was no longer the upright president he used to be. However, everyone agreed with Gu Jingming's idea of holding another wedding for Yu Minmin. Gu Jingze asked someone to help him and was very willing to pay for it. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze. "You look like you want them to hold this wedding too." Gu Jingze said, "Yeah, brother just resigned and there's still many things to do. The public thinks that he resigned because of some extraordinary reason. It's good to hold a wedding for everyone to see." Extraordinary reason? That's right. There were many speculations about this. However, only their own people knew that brother had resigned because of them. If Gu Jingming didn't want to, he could have more power, but he didn't like it. Soon, rumors started to spread. Gu Jingming had resigned and the election for the new president was about to begin. All of a sudden, many of the president's fans cried. Many of them gathered outside Glass Palace, not wanting Gu Jingming to resign. They said that if he resigned, they would protest every day and they would not allow anyone other than Gu Jingming to stay in Glass Palace. It was very awkward. At first, many people protested. They felt that Gu Jingming didn't handle things impartially and treated his wife too well. They complained for a while. Now that Gu Jingming had resigned, they started to protest again. However, Gu Jingming didn't care anymore. He didn't return to Glass Palace. Instead, he stayed at home and prepared for his wedding with Yu Minmin. The wedding was prepared step by step. The venue, the decorations, the flowers imported from France, and the decorations shipped from Greece were all handled by Gu Jingming himself. Gu Jingming took the album and helped Yu Minmin choose a wedding dress. He asked Yu Minmin, "Which style do you like? Take a look first. The custom-made part is already being prepared. We just need to see what style you like, and the designer will start designing it." Yu Minmin looked at the wedding dresses. "They're all so beautiful, but I don't think my figure is that good, and I don't look good in them." "How can that be? Your figure." He looked down at her swollen breasts. "It's even better than before." Because she had just given birth, it was quite big. Yu Minmin understood what he meant. She rolled her eyes at him and hurriedly covered her mouth. "I'm not talking about this. How could that be? You'll look great in it." Yu Minmin didn't think so at all. Gu Jingming said, "Moreover, it's all for me to see. If I say it's good, it's good." He lightly played with her hair. Yu Minmin blushed and lowered her head. It was impossible for her not to be happy. She put down the child and began to choose carefully. But she really wasn't sure. After all, she didn't have any aesthetic sense in this aspect. Thus, she called Lin Che and Mu Firen over to help. The three of them sat down in a cafe and picked out the food. Yu Minmin said, "I think it's all the same. Of course it's different. This one accentuates your bust better." "Hee, your bust is so great, you'll definitely choose this one," Lin Che said as he pointed. Mu Firen said, "Should we choose a style and let the designer design it?" Lin Che said, "Yeah, I just told the designer that they wanted this type of bride so that the designer would like this style. Then, they would match the bride's personal characteristics and design a brand new one." "Wow, that's so troublesome." Mu Firen sighed. "When I got married, my wedding was sponsored by them, and the wedding gown was also sponsored by them." Yu Minmin said, "You call that a wedding? Forget it. Let's get Mo Jinyan to arrange a better one for you." "Hey," Mu Firen said, "we're not that close yet." Yu Minmin said, "Forget it. Everyone in the industry knows about your relationship with Black Eagle." "What? How is that possible? Were they that high profile?" Mu Firen naturally didn't know that Black Eagle was secretly very high profile. They threatened to film for Mu Firen and didn't allow anyone to say that she was a box office poison. Many people were scared out of their wits. "Okay?" Yu Minmin said, "Don't even think about other people. Just be obedient and follow Black Eagle." Lin Che said, "That's right. Just be my little sister-in-law." Mu Firen pinched their cheeks and tugged at them. "Humph, you two are both on his side." Lin Che helped Yu Minmin choose the gown for the wedding gown and helped her choose the people to invite. Some of the company's artists will have to go, right? Yu Minmin thought so too. Invite those we know. It's a wedding anyway. It's just for fun. In the past, because of political factors, many people couldn't be invited to weddings. Lin Che said they must be overjoyed. For some of the relatives, Yu Minmin wrote every invitation herself. She put her heart and soul into it. She didn't feel that it was hard. Instead, she felt very satisfied and thought that this was what her wedding should be like. She carefully prepared everything so that everyone could enjoy their marriage with her. She didn't want to leave everything to others. The wedding or her subordinates could handle it. She was just an outsider, a decoration. She just had to go and take a look. She said to Lin Che, I think many people have the same attitude toward weddings these days. In order to save trouble, they leave the wedding to the wedding and don't do anything themselves. They just go and attend. That's right. Some weddings are even very fake. What's the point of that? I still want to prepare it myself. Lin Che propped his head on his hand. I can understand. Most people are busy, but weddings are very sacred. They're busy all their lives. But in the end, they're always running around for others. Were they busy for others? Weddings are such an opportunity. Yeah, Lin Che thought that was true. Yu Minmin said, anyway, it doesn't matter if I get busy for a while. I hope that when I look back on my wedding, even though it was very tiring, it was my own sweat and my own preparations. It's not someone else's wedding. I know every single detail and every single thing that I want to show my friends and family. I want to tell them that these are the things that I prepare to tell everyone that we're getting married. I'm very serious about my preparations because I'm also very serious about my marriage. If I don't take my wedding seriously, how can I take my marriage seriously? Lin Che propped his head on his hand. He felt that Yu Minmin was really a little woman who was wholeheartedly devoted to her family. It was probably because her family made her really happy that she had such thoughts. Chapter 1553. Lin Che said, let's see who else needs to be invited. I've looked around. Anyway, Jinka knows how to count the Gu family. Let's just look at our side. Then there shouldn't be anyone else. We've already invited those who should be invited. As for those who shouldn't be invited, I suspect that there will be people who want to freeload. Then, if they come on our big day, we won't slap them in the face. Yeah, they're all guests. As long as they don't cause trouble, I welcome them. Yu Minmin took a deep breath and held Lin Che's hand. What should I do? I feel a little nervous. Lin Che laughed. It's not like I've never been married before. I was nervous last time too, but I'm even more nervous this time. Last time, I was always worried that I would do something wrong and lose my life. After all, the whole country and the whole world are watching. But this time, there aren't as many people watching. I still feel nervous. Don't worry, we're all here. Plus, Big Brother won't let anything happen to you. I'm worried that something will happen to me. If I do something wrong, all the preparations will go to waste. Silly, no matter what happens, it's your wedding. It's a memory for the future. What's there to worry about? Yu Minmin snorted. It's not you. Of course you won't be worried. I don't believe that you weren't worried at that time. All right, she was right. Lin Che could only pout. You're so annoying. I can't comfort you, and you're even insulting me. All right. Worrying is a part of the wedding. Just enjoy it, my bride. I'm Jingming's bride. Who's yours? You. Lin Che was speechless. The two of them laughed as they finished their work. Although they had prepared well, they still felt a little nervous on the day of the wedding. A few days before the wedding, the news of Gu Jingming's resignation had been announced on the internet. The new presidential candidates had also met with everyone one after another. Among them, Gu Jingming nominated one of them, and the popularity immediately increased. This was the candidate that Gu Jingming, Gu Jingze, and the others had thought of together. Everything went according to plan. Gu Jingming also announced that he would hold a new wedding. Last time, it was a wedding like the wedding of the century. This time, as an ordinary person, he was going to marry the woman he loved. This time, many of the president's fans were on the verge of tears. Everyone was saying that some people had thought that Gu Jingming did it for his career and for the sake of his political wedding. But now, there was nothing more to say. He's not the president anymore, but he still loves his wife. All of a sudden, all of Gu Jingming's previous deeds were posted on the internet again. All of a sudden, Gu Jingming's love and his past were praised to the skies. There were even a lot of people who came to invite him to do programs. There were also quite a few people fighting to attend the wedding. There were quite a few people who beat around the bush to ask Lin Che if he had an invitation and if he could go take a look. Even though Gu Jingming was no longer the president, his wedding would still attract a lot of attention. Even more people and fans would pay attention to it. If he could attend the wedding, it would definitely be something he could brag about. He could also show his face in front of the media. The news could be written for a few days. With such anticipation, the date of the wedding finally approached. Early in the morning, Yu Minmin was woken up. Actually, because she was nervous at night, she didn't sleep for long. She was worried that she would have dark circles and swollen eyes. Luckily, the makeup artist had a good solution for this kind of thing. She had already prepared an ice pack and a drink to reduce swelling for Yu Minmin. The makeup started at 4 o'clock in the morning. Lin Che was also ready to leave at 4 o'clock. The two kids were still sleeping. She asked Dongzi to wake them up at 6 o'clock and bring them to the wedding venue. She would go and help them first. Gu Jingming was waiting outside. He wanted to come in and see Yu Minmin, but he was stopped by Lin Che. "Brother, you can't go in. Minmin is staying at her parents' home now. You have to follow the rules when you see her." Gu Jingming was very anxious. He looked outside and said, "I just want to take a look. I want to see if the custom-made dress is suitable. Don't worry. We can't compare to Yu Min in terms of beauty. I'll keep an eye on him. But hurry up and get out." Lin Che slammed the door shut with a bang. Gu Jingming face-palmed. Gu Jingze walked over and said, "That's enough. Sina is like this." Last time, he did not experience it because at that time, all he had to do was receive it at the front. It was just a formality. Who would dare to make trouble in the president's bridal chamber? But this time, it was the first time Gu Jingming experienced the feeling of being a groom. He suddenly felt a little nervous. Lin Che watched as the people outside left dejectedly. He covered his mouth and laughed. He said to Yu Minmin, "You still want to come in?" "No way." Yu Minmin was speechless. "Why are you so anxious? It's not like you can't see him. You want to see him first. You're just curious. Has he seen the wedding dress before?" "But I don't think he has seen me in it." "Of course, you can't let him see it. He has to see you in it for the first time today." Lin Che watched as Yu Minmin went up to the last level. The makeup artist said, "Take a look, Mrs. Gu. Are you satisfied?" Lin Che took a closer look. These makeup artists were used by the company all the time. They were trustworthy. "Very good. Just be careful when you put on the makeup. Don't smudge it. Don't worry. We'll be extra careful at Mrs. President's wedding." Yu Minmin raised her head and said, "I'm not Mrs. President anymore. You are for a day and for the rest of your life. In our hearts, Mr. President will always be Mr. President." A few makeup artists packed up and said, "If it was in the past, we wouldn't have had the chance to do the makeup for your wedding. This time, it's all thanks to the two madams." "Of course not. You always do it for us in the company. We've worked together for so many years. This is different from working with the company. Look, there are so many reporters and people outside." Lin Che also looked out after they reminded him. As expected, the place was full of reporters. Lin Che said speechlessly, "Seriously, they really like to join in the fun." The makeup artist said, "Everyone says that we're looking forward to it even more than the wedding of the century." "Yeah, because it's a wedding filled with love. Mr. President gave it to Mrs. President. We're so envious." Yu Minmin lowered her head and couldn't help but smile warmly, with a little shyness in her smile. They had been together for so many years. It was embarrassing to be said like that. Chapter 1554. Outside, the reporters were very excited. After Gu Jingming became the president, many of the strict guards were removed. In the past, the reporters could only look at him from afar. Now, they could get closer to see this charming president. How could they not be excited? At this time, the reporters watched Gu Jingming walking back and forth inside and felt amazed. The flashlights kept flashing as they watched Gu Jingming inside. Lin Che saw that Yu Minmin was done with the decorations. Gu Xinian and Gu Shiwan had already arrived. Yu Minmin smiled and said, "You two little things come here. Annie has some delicious food. Go and play." Gu Shiwan looked at Yu Minmin and said, "Auntie, you're so beautiful. You look like a fairy in this dress." Yu Minmin was amused. Shiwan is so good at talking. Nian, when are you going to learn from him? Look at your sister. She's so obedient and sweet. Gu Shinian was a taciturn person. He didn't like to talk. Gu Shinian looked at Gu Shiwan and said, "We only need one person in our family who can talk. I'll be in charge of making her look good." If they were praising someone else, Gu Shinian would be a little disdainful. But since they were praising his sister, he wouldn't say anything. He would even feel very proud. Yu Minmin looked at this little adult speechlessly. Just then, Lin Shay walked over and said, all right. Go and play first. It's almost time. I'm going to attend the wedding." Gu Shiwan looked at Yu Minmin enviously. "When can I wear this? It looks so good." Yu Minmin smiled and patted her little head. "Oh my, you want to get married at such a young age. If your father knew, he would be very sad." "Huh? Why?" "Because if you marry someone else, you'll become someone else's bride and have to live in someone else's house." "Huh? Why? Can I be someone else's bride and still live in my own house?" "Well, you two have to live together after getting married. If you live in your house, where do you want your husband to live? Does he want to live in my house too? We could be together in the day and go home at night. It's just like when we were in kindergarten." Yu Minmin said, "Don't your parents sleep together every night? You'd be like that too." "That's different. My mom is disobedient, and my dad has to discipline my mom. That's why we live together. I'm very obedient." "How did your father discipline your mother?" "He's the one who wants to spank mommy at night." "Why does this sound so weird?" Yu Minmin raised his head and looked at Lin Shay with a dubious expression. Lin Shay's face turned red, then white. He pulled Gu Shiwan over and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? There's no such thing." Yu Minmin covered her mouth and laughed. "I didn't expect that after being married for so many years, you still have so much fun. You even spanked me." "That's not what I meant." Lin Shay was speechless and didn't know how to explain. "Because actually it was really..." Gu Shiwan said, "It's true. When my dad spanked my mom's, but he even said, 'You better behave yourself next time, or else I'll hit you even harder.' So, my mom must have done something wrong." Lin Shay wanted to cry. This Gu Jingza. It was all his fault. He didn't care about anything else and played around with her. Now the kids had seen it. That's right, Gu Jingza was like this. Even now, he still treated her like a child, picking her up and spanking her for no reason. She was the mother of the kids, okay? Lin Shay pulled Gu Shiwan over and said, "You're wrong." Yu Minmin stared blankly for a moment, then started laughing so hard that he started rocking back and forth. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I really thought you were, but now I know. Ha 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 ha. It's even funnier. Lin Shay, your status in the family." Lin Shay's face darkened. It was all Gu Shiwan's fault. Just then, someone came to inform them. "Madam, it's about to start. You can go now." The wedding was about to start. Lin Shay went outside and saw that someone had already come to pick up the bride. Yu Minmin stood up and the makeup artists quickly lowered their heads to help her tidy up. Yu Minmin looked ahead and sighed. "Lin Shay, yes, thank you for being part of my family." "You're welcome. I'm part of your family." Yu Minmin smiled faintly. Her parents were probably watching from the sky, weren't they? She felt a little sad in her heart. Especially at a time like this, everyone would think of their parents. Just then, she walked out and saw Yu Changsheng walking over. "Wow, sis, you're so beautiful today." Yu Minmin said, "Are you saying I wasn't beautiful before?" "Not really. You're the most beautiful today." He smiled and reached out to hold Yu Minmin's hand. When they walked out, they saw that most of the wedding procession was already outside. From afar, Mu Firen and the others were still blocking the way, not letting anyone in. Lin Shay hurried over to help and said to the door, "Do you want to see our beautiful bride?" The people outside said one after another, "Of course. Bring her out for us to see." "No way. Where's the red packet? Give it to me first." Everyone was really, "Okay, the red packet is ready." The red packet was handed over. Lin Shay looked at the amount and asked Mu Firen, "Did I pass?" "Yes, I did, but..." Lin Shay said, Big brother, it's not easy to get married. We have to see your sincerity before we let you in to see our Min. They looked at each other. They knew they were up to no good. What else do you want? Mu Firen said, let Mr. President express his sincerity. Black Eagle was still watching from behind. Hey, no way. Hurry up and get her out. You've wasted so much time, and you still want to express your sincerity? If you don't let her out, we'll go in and snatch her. Lin Shay pushed Mu Firen forward. Hey, Black Eagle, this is how you get married. Why? Don't you want to get married? How dare you come and snatch her away? Let me tell you, it's time for us to see your performance. If you don't perform well now, you won't get married in the future. Mu Firen blushed, but she looked at Black Eagle, and Black Eagle looked back at her. After thinking for a while, Black Eagle admitted defeat. He touched his head and said, well, I was just saying. There was a burst of laughter behind. The cameraman was shocked by this scene. How could the dignified Black Eagle be so timid? All right then, tell me, how should I express my sincerity to Madam? Mu Firen smiled. Mr. President, sing a song first. What song? There are 3 songs. They're all here. Mr. President, choose one. Chapter 1555. The few of them looked over, only to see what kind of songs were those. One was Wife, Wife, I Love You. The second was Mice Love Rice. The third was Little Apple. Was he trying to mess with the president? Had the president heard these songs before? Gu Jingming frowned. What if I don't know how to sing? Mu Firen said, I don't know how to sing. Let your people sing. Gu Jingming turned around. Which one of you knows how to sing? They were all playing dumb. What a joke. If they sang this kind of song here and people heard it, they would laugh at them for the rest of their lives. They couldn't sing it even if they were beaten to death. Gu Jingming said, no one knows how to sing. Gu Jingze looked at the Black Eagle beside him. You hang out in nightclubs every day. I'm sure you know how to sing. Come, sing a song. Haha, just kill me with a knife. I don't know how to sing. My head is broken and my blood is flowing. I can't sing this song. What a joke. There were so many people watching. Gu Jingze looked at Liu Beichen again. Hey, no, you can sing if you want. Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes. One factory. Liu Beichen's eyes moved. How generous. But he chuckled. Only one factory? Gu Jingze's eyes darkened. Okay, 2. Haha, there are many factories. I don't care. I have another villa by the bay. It's beautiful. It's perfect for a honeymoon. Perfect for a honeymoon? That's not bad. Liu Beichen looked at Gu Jingyan. What did he mean? Was he willing to matchmake Gu Jingyan and him for a honeymoon? Okay, Brother Jingming, look at these people. When it comes to serious matters, none of them can be of use. I'll help you get married. He walked to the front as he said this. Mu Firen ran over and handed him a microphone. He coughed dryly and said, then let me present to you a well-known song, Little Apple. The crowd burst into laughter again. Liu Beichen thought to himself that this was a good deal for a song that was worth so much money. Which celebrity could have such a high net worth? His song was definitely worth more than even an A-list celebrity. You're mine, little apple. The moment Liu Beichen opened his mouth, the people behind him couldn't stop laughing. They laughed so hard that their cheeks twitched a few times. The bridesmaids couldn't help but laugh. Gu Jingyan couldn't take it anymore. She covered her face and shouted, seriously? Don't tell others that I know him. Soon he finished singing. Liu Beichen tossed the microphone aside and went back to his seat. They were about to pick up the bride when they were stopped by Mu Firen. No. Hey, I'm done. Can't you continue? Liu Beichen protested. You sang it. Then Mr. President wants to show his love, or do you want Mr. President to sing it? What? We won't make things difficult for Mr. President. Mr. President can just sing The Moon Represents My Heart. Liu Beichen shouted angrily from behind. Hey, what about the song I just sang? Lin Shay said, you were the one who said it yourself. You wanted to add bricks and tiles for Big Brother's wedding. So, President Liu, on a whim, sang a song. Don't worry, I've already recorded it for you. You can look for it online when the time comes. Hey, Lin Shay, I'm going to kill you. Gu Jingze stopped him. You've already sung it. Liu Beichen said, You, of course you'll be on her side. Hey, why? The men on our side are too weak. The women are all over there. You're all henpecked. Anyway, it wasn't them who sang it. They just wanted to pick up the bride now. Hae-ing went up and pulled him down. Okay. We're picking up the bride. Stop it. Mu Fearon smiled at Gu Jingming. Gu Jingming had no choice but to say, Okay, I'll sing. Everyone watched as Gu Jingming went over and picked up a microphone. Except for when Gu Jingming sang in the school choir when he was a child, they had never heard him sing before. Especially in this kind of environment. The people behind him looked at the president expectantly. Gu Jingming turned around and smiled shyly. I didn't sing well. Please forgive me. Gu Jingming turned his gaze inside. He looked at the vague shadow behind the frosted glass door. He coughed dryly and finally spoke. You asked me how much I love you and how much I love you. My love is real. My love is real. The moon represents my heart. Gu Jingming really didn't know how to sing, but the Gu family had good genes. Thanks to these genes, Gu Jingming's voice was still very pleasant, even though his tone was a little stiff. Especially when he looked into the room, his expression was filled with deep emotion. It was so easy to move one's heart. Wow, I'm so touched. Mr. President is so affectionate. Madam is so happy. Everyone clenched their fists and looked at him. Liu Beichun said gloomily, Why do you all look so different when I sing? After the song, Lin Che and Mu Fearon were finally satisfied. Okay, let's pick up the bride. Yu Minmin was already laughing inside. But when she heard Gu Jingming's voice, she was so moved that she almost wanted to throw herself at him and hug him. After the bride was picked up, the reporters also swarmed out. There were many people at the scene, and the ceremony was very romantic. Yu Minmin walked down the red carpet with her brother leading the way. She remembered how worried and scared she was when she walked down the red carpet last time. She didn't know what the future would be like. Now, this time, she looked at the man opposite her, and her heart was full of satisfaction. It turned out that marrying for love was the happiest thing in a marriage. She finally understood why so many marriages ended up as graves, and why some people were so afraid of marriage because they had never experienced love in their lives. She wasn't afraid at all, because the man opposite her was the one she trusted, loved, and was willing to protect with her life. The people below cheered and applauded when they saw Gu Jingming take the bride's hand. Lin Che raised his head and saw that Abai and Shui Yang were already sitting on the side. They didn't know Gu Jingming well, so they didn't go to pick up the bride and came directly to the scene. Lin Che was too busy to notice them before, so he walked over now. When are you going to have a wedding? Abai said, I'm fine. Actually, I think our wedding is good enough. The two of them, holding hands and growing old together in the church, were already very satisfied. Lin Che said, Although you're married, we didn't come to witness it, and you didn't treat us to a meal. No, you'd also want to eat delicious food. How could Shui Yang let that hasty wedding be treated as a real wedding? Of course, when the house is ready, I'll hold another wedding for Abai. At that time, you won't be able to run away. Of course, you won't be able to run away either. Chapter 1556. Abai looked at Shui Yang, and the two looked at each other. She felt that there was nothing more important at this moment. As long as the two of them were together, she could give up everything. However, Shui Yang couldn't let her be wronged like this. Even if she left Wesley's family, she would have what other girls had. She would have what other girls didn't have. Right now, he would only work harder to make her happy. A wedding was reported to the outside world. There were more live broadcasts online than the previous wedding of the century. As for the media, they were following the whole process. All of a sudden, the celebrities who could come to the president's wedding all seemed to have a lot of face, showing off on Weibo. Almost all the artists from Yining's studio came. There were those from other companies who couldn't come. They thought with envy and jealousy that Yining's studio was good. The pavilion closest to the water enjoys moonlight first. Anything good could happen to them. Basic resources were good. Everyone came and basically sat in the same position, greeting each other together. Suwon saw Gu Jingyu from afar. He was sitting in the position of a relative, far away from here. Now that it had been a long time, she didn't care so much about the past. But in the depths of her heart, she still felt that he was a special person. Everyone was still looking at the front enviously. No one knew her relationship with Gu Jingyu. No one knew why she was looking over there and what she was looking at. Mr. President is so handsome. Yeah, and he's so gentle to the madam. This kind of love is enough, even if it's once in a lifetime. Unfortunately, not everyone can meet someone like Mr. President, especially in our circle. Sisters, you have to keep your eyes open. If only I could be like Sister Che and meet someone as good as Gu Jingza in this circle. In your dreams. You can't be as lucky as Sister Che. I have a boyfriend anyway. All right, the company is going to do a program in a few days. It's opening a coffee shop. I'm participating. Suwon, you're participating too, right? Suwon looked up. Yeah, some newcomers were invited to the coffee shop program, wanting to boost the popularity of the company's newcomers. Suwon was also called to participate in it. The program was that a few people would work together to open a coffee shop and film some interesting things about opening a coffee shop. Some fans might recognize them, but they might not. All the operations and calculations were done by them. I wonder how the program will turn out. It's a show made by Sis Che. It definitely won't be bad. Sis Che has such good taste. In front, the wedding ceremony had already been carried out. Some guests left on their own. The reporters outside were still interviewing every guest. They wanted to know more details about the wedding inside. However, more details have been moved to Gu Jingming's new home. In the past, no one dared to make trouble in the bridal chamber. Now was the time to make up for it. Gu Jingming and Yu Minmin were both sitting there. Seeing the group of people surrounding them, they couldn't help but feel worried. I feel like you guys are going to eat us, Gu Jingming said. Yu Minmin also hurriedly said, don't cause too much trouble, Liu Beichen said. That won't do. How are we going to return the favor when we just received the bride? Yu Minmin shouted, you can't do this. Now it was time for the bridesmaids to make a scene. Everyone stared at Mu Firen and Lin Che covetously. Okay, you can't be the bridesmaids. How about two bridesmaids? Lin Che put his hands on his waist. What are you doing? Liu Beichen said, there are no siblings here. You're the bridesmaid, and we're in charge of making trouble for you. Understand? Mu Firen said, don't go overboard. We're going to meet again in the future. Liu Beichen said, you're only saying that now. Why didn't you think about it when you embarrassed me just now? This, Lin Che said, okay. Just tell me how you want to do it. Liu Beichen came up and took the wedding candies. Here, these are the wedding candies. I'll write everyone's names on them. Everyone looked at him as he wrote down the names. He said, after that, everyone here will have a share. Now, the bridesmaids will put the wedding candies into the bride's dress. What? Lin Che took the wedding candies and sprinkled them into Yu Minmin's dress. Liu Beichen said, okay, now our groom will draw the lottery for us. Quick, groom, go and touch. What? Yu Minmin shouted, no. How could she touch in front of so many people? Io, you're already married and you're still so shy. Hurry up, hurry up. Gu Jingming looked at her and smiled helplessly at the crowd. You're just playing tricks on us, aren't you? That's right. We didn't dare to do it before, but we can't now. Okay. Don't think that I can't take revenge on you now. Gu Jingming pointed at the crowd and said, just you wait. Liu Beichen said, we'll talk about that later. Right now, you better listen to me. Otherwise, don't even think about consummating your marriage. We'll wait here. Gu Jingming knew that he was alone and helpless today, so he coughed dryly. He looked at Yu Minmin, who was shy, and pulled her into his arms. Actually, they couldn't see anything, but they still cheered. They watched Gu Jingming touch her for a long time. Yu Minmin was so shy that she buried her head in his arms. She felt his hands moving around, and her face turned even redder. Okay, the first one is out. Another one. Again? A night of spring is worth 1,000 gold. Hurry up and come. That's the second one. Okay, the last one. Hurry up. Gu Jingming was speechless. Everyone was satisfied when they found 3 in total. Lin Che suddenly thought that it was lucky that they didn't dare to touch Gu Jingza. Otherwise, they were so shy. But it was indeed quite interesting. Seeing that everyone was convulsing with laughter, the bride and groom's faces were red, but they weren't angry. They knew that everyone was just there for fun, so they didn't mind. The next one is ready. Bride, come on. The bride will start now. Put the lipstick in your mouth and draw the groom's name on his face. If it's wrong, bridesmaids will do 10 push-ups. Lin Che protested. Why should it be us? Liu Beichen said, why not you? The bride is too tired. How can she consummate the marriage tonight? You. You're the bridesmaid. Lin Che and Mu Firen looked at each other speechlessly. They felt that they had entered a wolf's den. Liu Beichen, just you wait. Don't think that you won't be punished. Humph, we'll talk about it when the time comes. Chapter 1557. Yu Minmin looked at Lin Che sympathetically. Don't blame me if it's wrong. Let's start. Liu Beichen had already passed the lipstick to Yu Minmin. Yu Minmin's hands were tied behind her back. She looked at Gu Jingming with the lipstick in her mouth. She couldn't bear to write anything on Gu Jingming's handsome face. But Gu Jingming lowered his head. He was too tall, so he had to squat down. Yu Minmin lowered his head and continued drawing, but it was a little difficult to draw with his mouth. Seeing Gu Jingming's messy face, Yu Minmin felt guilty. He bit his lipstick and looked at him pitifully. She really didn't have any artistic talent. It's over. Lin Che, do the push-ups. Liu Beichen looked at it. There wasn't even a normal curve, let alone a name. Yu Minmin threw the lipstick away and looked at Lin Che gloomily. I try my best. Liu Beichen said, all right. Hurry up and do the push-ups. Lin Che looked at him gloomily. Liu Beichen was too arrogant for him to be the MC today. Lin Che snorted. He was about to do it, but felt that he couldn't do it. She looked up immediately and looked at Gu Jingzi sadly. Do you really want me to do it? Gu Jingzi wanted to turn his head away when he saw the look in her eyes. Lin Che said, I'll probably be paralyzed after I'm done. Do you really want me to do it? Liu Beichen noticed and glared at him. Hey, Gu Jingzi, whose side are you on? Lin Che put his hands on his hips. What do you mean? My husband, which side do you think I'm on? If it's not my side, then it's yours. Gu Jingzi heard this, and his heart warmed up. All right. Let's not do it. You. Gu Jingzi, can't you have some principles? Lin Che said, what? Do you have principles for your wife? It's okay to have principles for you, but for me, that's impossible. Liu Beichen looked at the two of them. He could only sigh when he saw Gu Jingzi's threatening smile. He couldn't afford to offend him. He turned to the other bridesmaid. Mu Firen was stunned, but at this moment, what? Do you think there's no one behind her? At this moment, the Black Hawk suddenly stepped forward. Liu Beichen looked at Black Hawk speechlessly. Really? How is he supposed to play anymore? Look at you men. Can't you have some principles? Are you afraid of women? Seriously. Gu Jingyan grabbed Liu Beichen and said, oh, aren't you afraid? Everyone burst into laughter. Only Gu Jingming and Yu Minmin were left to consummate their marriage. Everyone left, and the room became quiet. Gu Jingming took a glass of red wine and put it on the table. Seeing Yu Minmin sitting on the bed, he walked over, bent down, and took off her high heels. Yu Minmin said, getting married is tiring enough, and you're doing it again. Gu Jingming grabbed her foot with his hand. Yu Minmin's heart opened wide. He smiled and said, yes, because I remember that last time. We didn't have time to consummate our marriage. This time? What this time? I have to make up for it all. His hand was still hot on her foot. She couldn't pull her hand back even if she wanted to. In an instant, she was pulled down by him, and both of them fell. He hugged her and looked at her face. Yu Minmin felt warm and cozy. Looking at him, she didn't feel tired at all. So are you happy today? He asked. Yes. This is what a wedding should be, right? Yes, although it was tiring. Every moment was so interesting when she recalled it. She pursed her lips and smiled. He said, okay, then one more, and then our wedding will be over. How could he let a moment like this go to waste? The two of them leaned against each other. Outside, the moon was shining brightly. When Gu Jingyu got home, he received a call from Lin Che. We have a program to do in a few days. Can you go and help us? Be the host. Host? Yes, it's called Coffee Shop. Can I refuse? No. After Lin Che finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Gu Jingyu was speechless. Seriously, The program in the coffee shop was about to start. The artists in Lin Che's studio were rather harmonious, but they weren't that clean. After the company grew bigger, there would always be some talented artists, but there would also be some narrow-minded artists who joined a company. Today, there are a total of 6 newcomers, 3 male and 3 female. Suwon was one of them. AI Mealy was also one of them. Just like Suwon, the two of them were cautious and kept an eye on the coffee shop. They chose a street that wasn't too crowded. If there were too many people, they were worried that it would affect the filming. Therefore, they chose a place with fewer people. Aimi looked at the menu and said, "There are a lot of things that I don't know how to make. I hope I won't ruin it and embarrass Sister Che." Suwon said, "I've been a waiter in a coffee shop before. It's okay. It's just that I'm not good at making flowers. I heard that Chun Ming knows how to make flowers. He used to be a bartender and Sister Che pulled him from a bar. Then it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, I just hope that the ratings can be high this time. But we're all newcomers. I wonder if Sister Che will find some of her old friends or something to help us increase our popularity." On the other side, Sun Ruru said and walked over. Suwon smiled. Aimi said, "I just want to be famous. I just want to be famous. It depends on whether or not I'm lucky." Sun Ruru said, "What's wrong? You don't want to be famous? I want to be famous. Which celebrity doesn't want to be famous, right?" Even Sister Che said that she wanted to be famous. Aimi curled her lips. Suwon also said, "Yeah, I want to be famous too. Of course. I'm famous and I have a lot of fans. I'm going to return to my hometown in glory and let those people in my family die when they hear that I'm a celebrity." Suwon laughed. "Okay, I just think that I'll be able to make a living if I'm famous." Right. She was different from them. Eating was already a problem for her. Why would she care about anything else? She thought that if she could make money, then she wouldn't need to rent such a small underground apartment every day. She also wouldn't need to worry about how to buy clothes and how to eat. These were the things she needed to solve urgently. She was realistic and just wanted to be like this. She packed up her things and said goodbye to everyone. After returning, she bought a basket of buns and a dumpling on the way back. When she returned to her rented apartment, everyone placed the buns on the simple and crude table to eat. Lin Che spent a lot of money to pay for the contract with the new company. Therefore, she shot advertisements and did commercial performances. She didn't use the money and saved it to return it to the company. She looked at the amount in her bank account and ate the buns in satisfaction. She also hoped that she could become famous. If she became famous, she could return the money and save money to live a good life. Chapter 1558. The next day, Ai Mealy came to the company crying. Suwon asked what happened. Ai Mealy said, "I broke up with my boyfriend. They had really broken up too many times." Suwon heard that they had broken up 6 or 7 times. Suwon said, "When are we getting back together this time?" Ai Mealy yelled, "I'm not getting back together. I'm not getting back together, even if you beat me to death. Oof. If we get back together, then I'm really cheap." Okay. We're not getting back together. After the show, let's go for a drink." "Really? You're so stingy. You're willing to do that?" Everyone in the company knew that Suwon was stingy. She had a micro-movie and was extremely popular, but she was still renting a house and eating takeout right now. Suwon didn't explain to anyone. She had her own thoughts. Her money still belonged to someone else. Many people in the company thought that the company's money should be returned slowly, but she felt that this was unfair to the company. She didn't want to be in so much debt. The company helped her earn money, but she didn't return the money. Lin Che saved her. If it wasn't for Lin Che, she would have been frozen by the original company. She had to return the money. She said, "Seeing that you broke up again, I'll be more generous. Don't cry. I'm touched." Ai Mealy hugged Suwon. Sun Ruru walked past and looked at the two. She said in disdain, "How childish." Many people in the company knew about Ai Mealy's love history. Many people thought that it was inconceivable. Many celebrities chose to be single now. Once they became popular, they'd find a rich man to marry. Even if they weren't rich, they'd at least be a rich man. But Ai Mealy stayed with her boyfriend, who didn't have much money for so many years. In the afternoon, they went to a coffee shop together. Today was the first episode of the show, so everyone worked hard. They checked the menu and recruited new people. Suwon ran back and forth, very diligent. Sun Ruru sat inside and maintained a pretty expression. Seeing that Suwon really became a waitress, she snorted and thought to herself, "This idiot. Did she really think that she was here to work?" They were here to record a reality show. When the camera came over, he could just pretend to be calm. Many people came. Because they saw Suwon and Ai Mi Lee, they knew that they were celebrities. Some asked to take photos with them, while others chatted happily. There were also quite a few who didn't recognize them. After all, they were still newcomers. At this time, a person secretly sat in a corner. At this moment, the cameras hurriedly shot over, a few of them aimed at him. He was wearing a cap and a pair of sunglasses, sitting in the corner in a low-key manner. The person on the other side of the hidden camera said excitedly, "All right, today we can see that the big star, the big boss, Gu Jingyu, has arrived. Everyone can see that he is sitting here now. Our waiters are still busy. No one noticed him, and the customers didn't notice him at all. Ah, now someone has noticed him. Look at Sun Ruru." Sun Ruru saw someone at the bar counter. Her skin was fair, and she sat there with her head lowered. Subconsciously, she knew that it was different from the others. She hurriedly took the menu and walked over. With a single look, he nearly cried out in astonishment. "Wow, Gu Jingyu." However, Sun Ruru was startled and immediately thought that there must be a camera here. She didn't want others to come and talk with her at all, so she whispered here first. "Agu, Senior, do you not want to be seen by others?" Gu Jingyu thought that he didn't want to come at all. Wasn't it because of Lin Che? He said, "And then, what do you want to order? I'll do it for you." And Sun Ruru immediately went to order. Seeing this, the person behind the control felt that it was naturally boring for only Sun Ruru to see it. Since Gu Jingyu came, he must make use of him. So he immediately ordered Sun Ruru to do something else first. After Sun Ruru finished ordering, she was called by the store manager to be in charge of something else. Sun Ruru looked at this side unwillingly, but there was a camera, so she didn't dare to mess around. She could only leave first. At this time, Gu Jingyu's order was done. The person behind the monitor immediately said, "Look," the second person walked towards Gu Jingyu. "It's Suwon." Then did she find Gu Jingyu? Suwon really didn't know. She put the coffee on the table and felt that she was still very busy, so she quickly left. She didn't even look at Gu Jingyu. Gu Jingyu's thoughts were, "Where do your eyes grow?" Suwon directly left. Gu Jingyu sat there and looked at her, speechless. Suwon continued to busy herself with other things, but she saw a few customers chattering there. "Look, that man is so handsome. I can't even see his face, and he's still handsome. I know he's handsome just by looking at his figure. And his clothes are very fashionable. I don't know if he's also a celebrity. Now that you mention it, I think he looks a bit familiar." Suwon couldn't help but look over. The man sat there. His aura seemed to be incompatible with the surroundings, completely different. The impetuous aura became much more stable when it came to him. Suwon looked at him, and a familiar feeling couldn't help but hit her. At this time, Suwon's heart brightened. Gu Jingyu? Suwon clenched her fingers. She wanted to go over, but she didn't dare to. They were familiar, but also unfamiliar. Now, it was even more unfamiliar. It was as if the two paths had met at the center and then headed in different directions, with no possibility of returning to each other. She stood there and watched, seeing that Sun Ruru had come back in a hurry. "Ah, I just placed the order over there." "Oh, Suwon has already sent it over." "What? Suwon, what's wrong with you?" "That's my order. I saw that there's no one." All of a sudden, Suwon understood that Sun Ruru had already found out. She said, "I'll leave everything to you in a while. I'll leave the tidying up to you too, okay?" "Really?" Sun Ruru was a little satisfied. She looked at Suwon and walked over, saying, "Don't you know that's Gu Jingyu?" "I know." "Then why don't you go over?" "Don't you want to go over?" "You really have no desires and no demands to the extreme." Sun Ruru was very confused. She said, "Are you going?" "Sai, I'm telling you, I won't touch this kind of man." "Why?" Suwon looked at her. "Aren't there a lot of people who want to marry Gu Jingyu? First, it's impossible to fantasize about marrying him, right? His family definitely needs to find someone of equal status. Moreover, it's very stressful to marry him. Look at who marries a wealthy family. They will definitely be happy in the end. The risk is too big, so I only hope that he can make me famous. Suwon felt that what she said was quite smart. However, wouldn't Gu Jingyu become a tool? Chapter 1559. Suwon looked in Gu Jingyu's direction. She watched silently for a while. Time to collect. Someone yelled. Suwon told Sun Ruru to go collect. Sun Ruru rushed over. Senior Gu. All of a sudden, the people in the restaurant noticed Gu Jingyu. Ah, Gu Jingyu. Sun Ruru was pushed to the side, and the fans rushed over. Gu Jingyu was buried in the middle, smiling. Behind the monitor, the person in charge was still laughing. It's over. Our Gu Jingyu is being attacked. Now his identity is completely exposed. At this time, the director came out. Okay, everyone can see it. Today, the person who will be acting as the store manager is Gu Jingyu. Everyone reacted immediately. It turned out that he was here to participate in the show and be the acting store manager. Gu Jingyu raised his hand and smiled at everyone. These are my employees, right? Thank you for taking care of me today. Suwon looked at him, and he couldn't help but glance at Suwon too. Facing her direction, a faint smile. Everyone looked at Gu Jingyu excitedly. Lin Che was really nice to them. He even invited Gu Jingyu here. It seemed that he really wanted to train them. AI immediately held her face. Ah, a living Gu Jingyu, the show continued. AI immediately said, look at Sun Ruru. She's always dominating Gu Jingyu. You're going to be a tyrant too. I'm not that shameless. Then what can you do? Okay. Sigh. Unfortunately, Gu Jingyu doesn't act anymore. Maybe he's too lazy to act anymore. I heard that when Gu Jingyu wanted to be a celebrity, his family didn't approve of it. I think it's good to be a celebrity. He has so many fans, and hundreds will respond to his call. Sigh. Maybe it's because our family is different. His life is smooth sailing. I always feel that it's boring. Look, he's like an oddity in his family. Why would he come out to be an actor? I heard that he hasn't been home for over a decade. It can be seen how much trouble he's had with his family. Haven't been home for over a decade? Yeah. Suwon once again looked at the man who was seriously looking at the bill. It seemed familiar, but in the past, perhaps in her heart, there had been some resistance to knowing about him and hearing his name. Therefore, she was not really familiar with him. This was the first time she had heard of this. He sat behind the bar with his head lowered. He was tall and sat on a crappy high chair. Both his feet were placed on it, so his pants were a little raised. He was very thin, so even though his body was full of muscles, his slender ankles still exposed his slenderness. His skin was very white, and his exposed ankles looked very tender. He was wearing sneakers, casual pants, and a red apron. He looked like the most extraordinary person among the ordinary people. She looked like an angel, so beautiful. Unfortunately, if it was an ordinary handsome boy, he would probably be happier. Therefore, her beautiful face was filled with impatience, exhaustion, and confusion towards the world. He lifted his eyelids and looked at Suwon. Their eyes met, and he smiled. Suwon also smiled. She felt that with so many people separating them, that smile looked very warm. Sun Ruru couldn't help but look over, wanting to see who Gu Jingyu was smiling at. Suwon began to wipe the coffee cups on the table. After washing them, she wiped them clean and placed them in the disinfectant cabinet. Her movements were very neat and clean. Outside, the streets were winding. On the small path, there was a layer of burnt yellow leaves. It looked very warm. Although autumn was cold, it always made people think of the word warm. Just like a coffee shop, it always made people think of the mellow atmosphere, soft light, and music. Suddenly, she felt that opening a coffee shop was actually a very enjoyable thing. She finally finished cleaning up. The day's filming also ended. Suwon stood by the door, preparing to go home. It started to rain. She stood there and watched everyone leave. She was responsible for closing the shop, so she left a little later and was trapped here by the rain. She was thinking about the continuous autumn rain. She didn't know when it would end. She saw a car parked by the roadside. Gu Jingyu opened the car window. What's wrong? Are you going home? I'll send you. Aw, no need. It's not on the way. It's okay. I'll drive. Let's go. Suwon looked at it and decided not to be pretentious. She got into his car. She wanted to sit in the back, but he had already reached out and pulled open the front passenger seat. She had no choice but to sit in it. Gu Jingyu said, "It's very cold. You can only wear this. Here, clothes." He took a piece of clothes from the back seat. "Thank you," she said as she covered herself with the clothes that were full of his smell. However, the rain outside stopped after a while. She felt that it was as if God was playing a joke on her. She said, "It's not raining anymore." "Yeah, my house is just ahead." He looked outside. It was a rented basement. He said, "Your company didn't prepare a dormitory for you?" "I didn't want it. The company has to pay for the rent. It's so expensive. It's only a few hundred yuan a month for me. The cheapest rented by the company costs 7,000 to 8,000 yuan a month. It's not worth it for me to live alone." Gu Jingyu looked at her. There seemed to be a hint of breath lingering between his brows, like the autumn outside. "Okay, I know I'm stupid. What have you been doing recently?" Gu Jingyu said, "I'm filming during the day and go to class at night. I signed up for an English class." "You're learning English?" "Yeah, I can help you." "What?" "I've lived abroad for many years." "What kind of English are you learning?" "Normal business English." Gu Jingyu said, "Next time, bring a book to the coffee shop. I'll teach you." Suwon looked at him, thought about it, and generously accepted. Okay. The next day, she really brought a book to the coffee shop. Still, there weren't many people. When there was nothing else, Suwon picked up a book to read. Gu Jingyu walked to her side, sat down, and said, "You can ask me if there's anything you don't understand." Suwon said, "There's nothing I don't understand. It's just that my spoken English is pretty bad." "Then we can always talk in English now." As he spoke, he really started speaking fluent English. Suwon didn't quite understand. Gu Jingyu spoke a little slower. Suwon said, "Then what should I say? You can tell me about your past, your family's matters, for example, the simplest, where you were born." "I was born in a small, broken-down warehouse." Suwon recalled. "In the middle of the night, my mother suddenly had a stomachache. She wanted to call someone, but she was alone. Because she wanted to be with my father, she broke up with her family, but my father didn't want her either. She was alone outside, living in a warehouse rented by someone else. She bought a small bed and a simple wardrobe and stayed there. She was in pain for the whole night. She was worried that it was fake and that going to the hospital would cost money, so she waited. But later, she couldn't take it anymore. When she wanted to call someone again, it was already too late. She was in so much pain that she could only grab the head of the bed with her hands and endure the pain. She grabbed the bed and left a deep mark. The people next to them watched Suwon and Gu Jingyu talking and felt a little strange. "Suwon, what's wrong? Are you chatting with Gu Jingyu?" Chapter 1560. AI immediately said, "I don't know. They were just chatting." Sun Ruru said disdainfully, seriously. She pretended to be righteous yesterday and even said that she didn't want to get close to Gu Jingyu. I thought it was true. It turns out that she hooked up with him secretly. AI immediately said, "Hey, how can you say that? They were just chatting." "Who knows? Yesterday, she was the last one to leave. What do you think she did?" "Anyway, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the two of them hooked up after we left." "You naive." AI immediately, "We're all naive. Look, she was the last to leave yesterday. I really thought that she was so hardworking and would clean up before leaving. It turns out that she had plans." "Hey, why are you like this? You sound like you saw everything. You don't know anything at all." Suwon and Gu Jingyu were still sitting there and chatting. He said, "Your mother told you that?" "Yeah, she liked to tell me when I was young." And then, Suwon sighed. "I was born just like that. My mother used scissors to cut off the umbilical cord herself, so my belly button was ugly and didn't grow well. People said that because my mother's scissors weren't good, it got infected and grew bad. Later on, my mother endured the pain and stayed in the warehouse for a few days before someone found out and sent her to the hospital. It wasn't easy for you to survive." "Yeah, that's why my family always says that I'm blessed." Suwon laughed. Gu Jingyu looked at her and said, "Your grammar just now was a little wrong, but it's generally good. You're very smart." Really? Suwon seemed to have been encouraged. She wasn't that afraid when she spoke. The two chatted for a long time. Suwon felt that she had said a lot, but she had never spoken so much before. Unknowingly, it was time to get busy. Sun Ruru came over and purposely said, "You're not filming anymore?" Suwon quickly went to work. She turned around and smiled at Gu Jingyu. The camera had already captured this scene. The people behind were all amazed. What are these two doing? They've been chatting in English. This scene is too cute. However, they still had to ask Gu Jingyu if they wanted to broadcast it. If Gu Jingyu didn't want to expose it, they wouldn't dare to broadcast it. Suwon went to the back to wash the cups. Sun Ruru walked over with jealousy. I couldn't tell. You look so innocent, but you're actually quite scheming. However, I advise you to be careful. Suwon looked at her. What do you mean? He may look good, but he might not be as good as he looks. There must be a reason why Gu Jingyu hasn't gotten married yet. Be careful, he might play you. Be careful that there's something deeper in his family. Your little tricks won't be enough for the Gu family to play with. Sun Ruru said with a threatening face, then turned and left. Suwon didn't say anything and looked at her back. Today's shoot was completed very quickly. Gu Jingyu would not be attending the filming tomorrow. At night, everyone said their goodbyes reluctantly. Suwon looked at him and smiled. He also gestured to Suwon. When everything was over, Gu Jingyu came to Suwon. Mi was still there, but when she saw Gu Jingyu, she immediately left. Gu Jingyu said, "You haven't finished learning English. What are you going to do?" "I already know a lot. I think chatting is really useful. Yeah, I'll definitely improve if I go to school again." Suwon smiled. "Why don't we go to the lake tomorrow, and I'll continue teaching you. Be a good person to the end. I've only taught half of it, and I'm still worried. I'll pick you up tomorrow at the same time." Suwon wanted to say something, but Gu Jingyu waved his hand and left. Mi came over mysteriously. "What's going on?" Suwon said, "Gu Jingyu is teaching me English." "What?" I immediately said, "No way, it's true. We've been learning in the afternoon. Okay, let's go." Sun Ruru is so jealous. Jealous that I'm learning English. No, she's been bad-mouthing you for a long time. She's really bad. But it's okay. It's because she's jealous. It's better to piss her off. But we're really learning English. Sigh. I hope you guys are dating. Haha. Get lost. The next day, Gu Jingyu really came to pick her up. Driving the car, he drove her to a lake. Looking at the lake water outside, it was so clear that the bottom could be seen. It looked like spring water flowing down from the mountains. It looked especially beautiful. "It's so beautiful here. Yeah, I like to sit here alone." Gu Jingyu said, "There's no one here. It's especially quiet." Suwon said, "Yeah, there are so many people everywhere you go." Gu Jingyu smiled. "Okay, now we have to speak in English." "Yes," Suwon said. "Do you also feel annoyed that you've been a big star all this time?" "Yeah." Gu Jingyu said, "That's why I don't film things anymore." "Then why did you do this in the first place?" "Because I was rebellious. I wanted to go against my family for everything." Gu Jingyu said, "Actually, now that I've become a celebrity, I'm no different from back then. I was born abroad. After I came back, I was followed. Because second brother was attacked when he was young, they were very careful with us. They never stopped following us." "Then do you follow us to the bathroom?" "Yeah." Suwon smiled. He said, "No one followed us until now." At this time, Suwon's phone rang. Suwon picked it up. "Suwon, tell me. That bastard gave me another present. Should I accept it or not?" It was Me who called. It was her boyfriend that she just broke up with. "Of course not. But I'm so sad." "Sad? Didn't you say you were going to treat me to a drink?" Okay." Suwon looked at Gu Jingyu. "I'm going to my friend's place. I probably can't go to class today. Then I'll send you there. But this place is really far from a city. If I don't send you, how are you going to get there?" Suwon thought about it and nodded. "Sorry for troubling you. It's fine. I have nothing to do anyway." Gu Jingyu sent her to a small stall selling skewers. Mi had already started drinking. Seeing Gu Jingyu and Suwon getting out of the car, she was terrified. "You too," Suwon said. "We were just learning English." Aimi thought that learning English wasn't a secret code, right? Gu Jingyu said, "Oh, it's you." Aimi immediately said, "Come, Senior Jingyu. Since you're here, how can we not drink?" Chapter 1561. Gu Jingyu closed the car door. Suwon looked at him awkwardly. "It's fine. You can leave first if you have something to do." She originally wanted to help him find a way out of this embarrassing situation, but Gu Jingyu said, "I'm fine. Let's drink together." Aimi Lee was delighted. Because she was happy, she stomped her feet. Just like that, she followed Gu Jingyu and walked to the side. The stall seemed really small and a bit dirty. Suwon thought that he was a proud son of heaven. How would he eat here? But Gu Jingyu just sat down and asked faintly, "What do you eat here?" His calm demeanor didn't make people think that he didn't fit in with this place at all. But because of his actions, the stall seemed to have a higher status. At this time, there weren't many people here to eat skewers. This stall was also remote, so there weren't many people here usually. But some regulars came here often, so it was quiet. AI immediately said, "This stall has a lot of delicious food. Here, I'll order some. Senior Jingyu, try it. It's so delicious that I want to bite my tongue off." Suwon was amused by her, but she was also wondering what he hadn't eaten before. Would he really think that this was delicious? AI immediately ordered a lot, and even ordered a lot of beer. Amy immediately looked at Gu Jingyu as she drank her beer. Her eyes were bubbling, and she looked like a happy little sister. Suwon said, "Mealy, drink less." It's fine. Beer isn't intoxicating." "How is that possible?" As she drank, AI immediately got drunk. She wasn't completely drunk, but she started speaking carelessly. She didn't even have any misgivings towards Gu Jingyu. "Senior Jingyu, do you men like this? After quarreling, you coax him. After you coax him, you still want to quarrel. What's the point? Life isn't interesting in the first place." Suwon said, "Okay, Mealy, didn't you say that you don't care about him? What? After coaxing him, your heart softened?" "I'm not soft-hearted, not at all." As she spoke, Amy pouted her lips in a heartbroken manner. "I've been with him for so many years. In the beginning, he didn't have anything and his family was so poor. His entire family salary wasn't even as much as mine. I bought him food, drinks, and clothes. In college, when he went on vacation, I paid for everything. After he graduated, I bought him clothes for work. Later, he didn't want to work anymore and wanted to start his own business. I gave him $10,000 as capital. Now look at him." AI immediately bit her lip and said, "Now that he's making more money than me, is he looking down on me?" AI me had actually been waiting for him to propose. The two of them had been together for so many years, and they had long reached the point where they were talking about marriage. They had talked about enough love. However, that man never took the initiative. Marriage was such a simple thing. They could just hold hands and go directly to the Civil Affairs Bureau. However, he never opened his mouth. Every time AI me said something, he felt that she was forcing him to marry her, so his tone became very unpleasant. AI me Lee was actually forcing him to marry her, because she really wanted to have a family. But when she heard him say in an impatient tone, "Don't you just want to get married? Fine, I'll go book a hotel and we'll get married, okay?" AI immediately felt like she was really ugly. It was as if she was begging him to marry her. AI immediately felt that the two of them shouldn't get married like this. Therefore, AI immediately said that they wanted to break up. The man said, "Okay, let's break up. Don't regret it in the future." The two of them broke up just like that. But now, the man came looking for her again. AI immediately felt like she had endured enough. Every time she saw their chat history, she felt like she had enough. However, she felt terrible inside. AI immediately said, "Tell me, does he still like me, or does he not want to be a sinner, so he keeps trying to reconcile with me?" "You should know this better than me," Suwon said. AI immediately bit her lips. "I'm just afraid that one day, I'll just be a responsibility in his heart. Because I helped him before and didn't leave him during his most difficult times, I became his benefactor. He doesn't want to bear this debt, so he doesn't want to break up with me. Yeah, actually, didn't she know it herself? But she still wanted to lie to herself. Okay, Mealy, stop drinking. You said that beer doesn't get you drunk." AI immediately collapsed on the ground. Suwon was speechless. I was just saying, what should we do now? Gu Jingyu said, send her back. Suwon looked at Gu Jingyu apologetically. The two of them pulled her up together. AI immediately could still walk, but she stumbled a little. Finally, they got on the car and sent her to her home. When Suwon got off, she felt that her hands were sore. She looked at Gu Jingyu. Sorry for bringing you here, but you still have to do hard labor. No, I think she's pretty interesting. Yeah, she said. She's usually a strong and lively girl. But this is the only thing that makes her vexed. Suwon drank a bit too. She leaned against the back of the chair and stretched her arms, letting out a long sigh. She didn't have to think about anything at night. After eating skewers and drinking, the sky seemed to have become lazy. Suwon looked at Gu Jingyu. Are you used to the food? Gu Jingyu said, Amen. It's delicious. Suwon looked at him. She just felt that no matter what he did, he looked so harmonious. It was as if he could blend into everything very quickly. Plus, everything looked so good. Suwon said, let's go home. No, I'm still taking you somewhere. Where? You'll know when we get there. Gu Jingyu started the car, and soon, the two of them arrived at an empty meadow. We can see the starry sky here. The starry sky was beautiful. Gu Jingyu opened the sunroof and put the back of the chair down. He used his arms as a pillow and lay down. Suwon said, it's so beautiful. Gu Jingyu smiled. It's rare to feel so relaxed. It's a waste to go home. She tilted her head and looked at him. Gu Jingyu said, don't look at me. Why? I won't be able to resist eating you up. Suwon froze. Gu Jingyu suddenly turned his head and pulled her into his arms. He looked at her fresh face and lowered his head, kissing her softly. That sweet kiss, people cannot help but close their eyes. Suwon's lips trembled. Her heart was thumping. This man, after so many years, he had been washed clean and was still a youngster. But not long after, he let go of her. Chapter 1562. However, the next day, Suwon had just arrived at the company when someone said, Suwon, you made big news. Suwon froze. What news? Suwon didn't understand. Then she saw Sunruru walk out. She looked coldly at Suwon and then said to AI Me, learn from her. She's able to make big news without batting an eyelid. She pretends like she doesn't care about anything. Actually, people like her are the scariest. She'll become famous. Really, I'm telling you guys, only people like her will become famous. With her schemes, it's impossible for her not to become famous. Suwon still didn't know what happened. Seeing everyone looking at her with complicated expressions, envy, jealousy, and all sorts of guesses, AI Me came over and pulled Suwon up. Don't care about them. At this time inside, Suwon, you're here. Come over. Suwon's manager came. Suwon froze and walked over. Everyone looked at her. She's done for. She thinks she can become famous just because she's related to Gu Jingyu. Gu Jingyu is good friends with our President Lin. She's going to be scolded to death for using him. Yeah. Plus, people are scolding her online too. Look at who she is. Is she worthy of Gu Jingyu? Suwon entered the meeting room. You were photographed last night. Did you know? What? Suwon froze. Then she saw her manager throw a tablet over. It was the news online. She got in the car with Gu Jingyu and left, heading towards the outskirts. The verified account gossiped. The two left sweetly. It said that they got to know each other because they were filming at a coffee shop. They just got to know each other, but they couldn't wait to go on a trip together. I wonder what their relationship is. Because of this, Suwon started to get scolded. The comments were all saying, who does Suwon think she is? Why does everyone want to talk about our Jingyu now? Jingyu is so low-key, but people keep talking about her. Our Jingyu is really too kind. They just got to know each other, and she got together with Jingyu. Kendi isn't sincere. We have to find out who he is. We have to get rid of this evil for Jingyu. Suwon's heart sank at the comments online. Suwon bit her lips. I don't know. You and Gu Jingyu. We don't have any relationship. We just know each other. Suwon lowered her head and said. The manager sighed and said, all right then, release a statement to say that there's nothing going on between you two. All right. Suwon also didn't want to be exposed. She thought that she had harmed him. Going to that kind of place to drink was very likely to be discovered. Suwon made a statement on Weibo. Senior Gu Jingyu and I just happen to drink together. I only respect him as a senior, and he only loves me as a junior. We have nothing to do with each other. I hope the outside world will stop making things up. Immediately, someone came up to scold him again. What do you mean? After making use of our Jingyu, you're going to leave after creating hype? It doesn't matter if you say it now. We won't agree to it if you want to create hype and use us, Jingyu. It will only discredit us. So, quickly change your words. Hype, a lifetime of negativity. When Suwon went out, she didn't expect so many people to watch her. In the office, AI immediately looked at her and said, "What is it? Actually, I don't think it's a big deal even if you two are together. Why are these people scolding you?" Suwon said, "It's nothing in the first place." AI immediately said, "But I think he might really be interested in you. Otherwise, why would he eat skewers with you yesterday? He's such a big shot, but he came here to eat skewers with us." Behind him, Sunruru came over at some point. When she heard this, she said, "Aya, we're eating skewers together, and he's interested in you." Really, if the people outside heard this, they would laugh their heads off. Suwon looked up at Sunru. AI immediately got up and said angrily, "Sunru, what's wrong? What's wrong with Gu Jingyu liking Suwon? What's your name? Huh? What's wrong with it? The whole world can see that they're not worthy. The whole world can see that they're not worthy." Suwon's heart sunk. She thought of the warm and gentle boy in the autumn leaves. She smiled miserably and looked at Sunru. "Okay, Sunru, we don't have anything to do with each other. I've already made a statement saying that we don't have anything to do with each other. This matter will disappear soon and no one will remember it. But at the same time, I hope you won't remind me in a weird way. I know better than anyone what's the difference between us. I know better than anyone that I'm not worthy of him. I know myself. You don't have to keep talking about it." All of a sudden, Sunruru was stunned by her words. Although she didn't say it with much vigor, Sunruru suddenly couldn't say anything. Suwon's expression right now probably made people unable to say anything. That kind of determination, that kind of despair, made people feel that whatever they said would be asking for trouble. Suwon picked up her bag and walked out. On the other side, Gu Jingyu looked at Suwon's statement. His agent was speechless. "This is really you two. Why did you run out to eat skewers?" And Gu Jingyu just looked at the words on it. "I only have respect for him as a senior." Curling his lips, he tossed his phone aside nonchalantly. "Okay, I won't go in the future. That's all." The agent looked at him lying on the bed and didn't know what to say for a while. The scandal lasted for a few days. The coffee shop was about to broadcast its first episode. Because of this topic, the coffee shop's ratings skyrocketed, and the filming continued after the coffee shop. Suwon was still working when she was surrounded by people. "Suwon, she's pretty in person too. Aya, let me see. Suwon, let's take a photo." Suwon lowered her head and didn't want to speak. She pretended not to hear, but her heart felt cold. Aya, so arrogant. She's ignoring people. At this time, Suwon raised her head and an egg directly hit her face. Suwon froze. Behind, a shadow quickly ran away. The egg yolk flowed down her hair and onto her face. It flowed down her round chin and on her white clothes. She stayed there, as if her soul had left her. Everything seemed to have solidified. The egg yolk entered her mouth. It was a bit bitter, just like her heart right now. And this scene, in an instant, was filmed. Sunruru was laughing at the back. Aimi quickly ran over. "What are you guys doing? Is it really okay for you guys to treat a girl like this?" Chapter 1563. "Oh, what are you guys doing? How can you be like this?" Aimi quickly ran over. But the reporters outside were already taking photos. Suwon wiped the egg yolk and pulled Aimi inside. Sunruru snorted and then walked in with a dark expression. This scene was still fresh in everyone's memory. Sure enough, the television immediately started broadcasting it enthusiastically. The scene of Suwon getting beaten up was replayed on the internet and was even made into an emoticon. The news wrote, Su Wan and Gu Jingyu had a scandal, and her fans smashed eggs in public. The fans immediately replied, "She deserves it." "What do you mean by a scandal?" "We hope that our Jingyu is happy, but no one can make use of our Jingyu. She got beaten up because she made use of Jingyu to create a scandal. We can't stand people scheming against our Jingyu. Our Jingyu is so pure. You guys can't tame her as you please. Take away your utilitarian heart and stay away from our Jingyu." Suwon looked at them. In the office, the manager looked at Suwon. Although Gu Jingyu doesn't like to film anymore, he still has the most brainless fans in the country. "You should be careful." Suwon nodded. "Don't go out for now. We're still filming the cafe and the new drama. This is a new drama. Take it and watch it. It'll be over soon." "Okay." Suwon just looked at the curses. Would anyone believe her if she said that she didn't make use of Gu Jingyu? What about Gu Jingyu? Would he believe her? Suwon turned on her phone and saw Gu Jingyu's number. She wanted to say it, but she didn't dare to call him. Suwon thought and applied for a Weibo account. She clicked on Gu Jingyu's message. She could send him private messages, but there were probably a lot of people who sent him private messages every day. She would probably be drowned in the ocean. It didn't matter. After all, she was one of those dust particles. To a bright star like him, her tiny speck of light, which was as weak as a firefly, could be ignored. Inside, she wrote, "Jingyu, I think you'll never see me, hiding in this little corner. Write you a letter that you're destined not to see. I think they're right. I'm not worthy of you. You are so good, so tall, so pure. You are so beautiful, so good-looking. Your eyelashes are so long. Your nose is so cute, and your mouth is so gentle. Your eyes are like the sea of stars. The boat of my eyes is always so small, so weak. Jingyu, I think they're right. From the very beginning, I've been trying to get close to you. That's why I couldn't stop myself from getting close to you. However, as I got closer to you, I realized how insignificant I am. I'm not good enough for you, at least for now. That's why I'm so resistant. I want to escape. I feel so inferior. I'm so pitiful. The current me, no matter what, is not worthy of you. But I'm already satisfied. I've gotten close to the best version of you. That's the closest I can imagine. It seems like a little fan's love for her idol. I'm already your luckiest fan. Thank you for giving me the chance to get close to you." Suwon put down the phone and leaned there. She felt a lot better after saying these words. She didn't want him to see it. That way, their relationship would still be the purest and simplest, just like how they got along these few days. It was so beautiful. At night, Gu Jingyu looked at the news online. On his side, he had already packed up his things. He watched as Suwon was beaten with eggs. He frowned and watched the scene again and again. Why didn't anyone pursue the matter of the person who beat the eggs? Gu Jingyu asked. The manager said, "Are we going to pursue it now? If it's a fan, there's nothing we can do. What if it's not? I don't think the fans will be like this." Gu Jingyu put down the phone and thought for a moment. "Get someone to investigate." "Okay, I'll go look for the surveillance footage." The manager had no choice but to sigh and shake his head. "You're going to leave soon. Why do you care about this?" Gu Jingyu also looked at the backpack. "Since it was caused by me, I have to deal with it. Are you really going to go hiking? I think it's very tiring. You should think about it. Why are you looking for trouble? What do you know? Physical exhaustion is much better than mental exhaustion." He got up and walked out. Not long after, his manager came back. "You're right," he said. "I looked at the surveillance footage. That person planned it from the start. He came in from the back and ran after hitting the eggs. Look, it's this guy. Did you find out who he is?" "I found him and went to investigate. He came out of the building and then went home. I checked the surveillance footage and found that he probably took money from a woman. This person is..." Gu Jingyu looked at it. It was Sun Ruru. Gu Jingyu had an impression of her because he had seen her at the cafe not long ago. She probably thought that Suwon didn't have much power and didn't need to be too careful to frame her. That's why she did it so brazenly. However, these little tricks were used by small artists who had just entered the industry. Suwon was still a small artist right now. If she was a little higher and reached Lin Che's level, the tricks she used would be different. However, Gu Jingyu was experienced after all. These people's toys were nothing to him. Deal with this person. How? The manager said. Let her say goodbye to the circle. Okay, it was too easy to let a small artist say goodbye to the circle, especially someone like Sun Ruru. She didn't have a backer, and she would have a lot of black spots. Just find a black spot, and you can eat her up. In the afternoon, Su-won sat in the cafe, alone in silence. She was finally free, and she was looking outside with her head propped up. At this time, Gu Jingyu came. He got out of the car and walked in. The people in the cafe were watching the show, watching Su-won and Gu Jingyu. Su-won stood up in a daze. Gu Jingyu said, "Come with me." Gu Jingyu brought her to the back. Sun Ruru, right? Sun Ruru froze. When she stood up from the back, she trembled with fear. It's me. Looking at Gu Jingyu's expression, she only felt very scared. After all, compared to someone like Gu Jingyu, her status was too low. If Gu Jingyu wanted to pinch her to death, it would be as simple as pinching an ant to death. Senior Gu. Next, a document was thrown at Sun Ruru's face. I heard that you used to sit on the stage here, right? Chapter 1564. Sun Ruru still wanted to defend herself. No, Sun Ruru didn't count as a hostess. It was just that when she first entered the circle, the small management company had no place for them to make money, so they tricked them to go to this kind of place to make money. The company also became a pimp, tried to persuade them in the middle. At that time, because of their different temperament, hostesses who were trained as celebrities were very expensive. Plus, hostesses and peripherals, she earned a lot of money in those years. But, since changing companies, she wanted to turn over a new leaf and sweep away these black spots. But she didn't think that someone would turn it over. She looked at Gu Jingyu. With his remarkable abilities, it was easy for him to turn over her. Sun Ruru just didn't think that Gu Jingyu would help Su-won turn over her. What do you guys want to do? Sun Ruru admitted defeat and looked at Gu Jingyu. This is my past. My family is poor, and then I was cheated. That's why I did this kind of thing. Now that I've finally gotten rid of my past, please let me go, Su-won. I beg you, help me beg Gu Jingyu. If this news spreads, I'm finished, really. Gu Jingyu sneered. Don't use poverty as a shield for everything. There are many poor people. This is everyone's choice. You chose to be a hostess and used your body to exchange for glory and wealth. I don't care about this. Your body is also your bargaining chip. However, if you frame others, you can't push this on a poor person. Sun Ruru realized that he should know something, so he came to find her. You found someone to break the eggs, didn't you? Sure enough, Sun Ruru's face became gloomy. I didn't really. If I didn't have evidence, I wouldn't have bothered to find you. Gu Jingyu snorted. Su-won looked at Sun Ruru incredulously. How can you? I have no grievances with you. You actually harm me like this. Sun Ruru was ashamed. I didn't. If Gu Jingyu wasn't present, Sun Ruru would have scolded her long ago. Anyway, if the matter was known, her face would have been gone. However, Gu Jingyu was present. How dare Sun Ruru? Su-won sneered. If I go down, what good will it do you? Su-won. She looked at Su-won. You can already take on a lot of roles, but I'm still a small character. The roles I've taken on are all just random characters. Of course I'm jealous of you. Can jealousy harm others like this? Gu Jingyu pulled Su-won. Okay, it's useless to say anything to this kind of person. Her actions have already eliminated her. Gu Jingyu looked at Sun Ruru. You can go back to your old company and continue to sell yourself for glory. What? Sun Ruru's eyes widened. Gu Jingyu said, I'll inform Lin Che about this. I believe that she can't stand it. She won't like having an artist like you in her studio. No. Sun Ruru was scared. Gu Jingyu then said to Su-won, Is there any use in talking to such a person? Fool, let's go. There's no need to talk nonsense with her. In any case, no matter what you say, she'll hate you. The more you say, the more she'll hate you. Su-won felt that Gu Jingyu was right. However, she still looked at Sun Ruru and said, Everyone can choose a wrong path. However, even if the world is so dangerous, I still feel that kindness is indispensable to a person. Su-won shook her head and followed Gu Jingyu out. Su-won looked at Gu Jingyu. Thank you for helping me find out. Otherwise, I might not know in this lifetime. I have my own special privileges, so in this industry, I can avoid a lot of things. But most people can't avoid it. If their luck is a little worse, they will disappear before they become famous. Remember, people won't remember a person who disappears. They won't remember how amazing he was in the past. They will only remember how famous the person in front of you is right now. If you don't want to be forgotten, you have to become stronger first. Suwon lowered her head. Gu Jingyu said, maybe one day you'll understand. If you don't understand now, then forget it. All right, I've already told Lin Che that you'll be my agent from now on. What? Suwon widened her eyes and looked at him. Then you... Gu Jingyu shook his head and stuffed something into her hands. The key to the safe. All the agent's information is inside. What about you? I've decided to leave for now. Suwon looked at him in shock. Gu Jingyu said, I've decided to go hiking. I haven't decided how long it'll take, but it might be a long time. So, I don't want my agent to be laid off. I'll have to trouble you to take over. Gu Jingyu's agent. Not to mention how many connections he had, just his status and means in the circle. That wasn't something that other new agents could compare to. Gu Jingyu was, okay, I'll leave first. Go do your work. But, Gu Jingyu, Suwon wanted to say something. She looked down at the key in her hands and felt her palms warm. She wanted to say it, but she looked at him. Why did she have to say it? What? Gu Jingyu lowered his head. She smiled and shook her head. I got it. I'll take good care of it. I'll treat him well, learn from him, and become stronger. Gu Jingyu smiled and reached out to ruffle her hair. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Suwon watched him leave. A touch of wetness floated in her heart, making her eyes warm up. Did he just leave like that? He didn't say how long he would be gone or when he would be back. And she was so timid and useless. She couldn't even ask why he was so good to her. She could only silently clench the key in her hands. Maybe one day, she would become very strong and powerful. She would also become more courageous. Then, she could ask him openly in front of him, why are you so good to me? As expected, Sung Ruru was quickly removed from the studio. She even spread the news of her being on stage in the past to the circle. This time, many companies didn't dare to hire her anymore. They were worried that with these black marks, it would be difficult to deal with them in the future. As for Suwon, she accepted Gu Jingyu's change of agent. The first film he took on for her was a web drama. In it, she played the role of the sweet and lovely female lead. This time, she played the role of the sweet female lead, making her deeply rooted in people's hearts. Gu Jingyu carried his backpack. He turned on his phone for the last time and looked at the message. After that, he would throw away this phone that could receive online messages. On Weibo, there were a lot of people confessing their love. Private messages kept exploding. There were also a lot of messages and at S. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.